What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bingetown TV and our coverage of Amazon Prime's The Wheel of Time. So, yeah, finale. What was it called again, Dave?
What was meant to be.
What was meant to be. Okay, and apparently it was meant to be that the season was too short. So, 8 episodes up, eight episodes down. We are obviously going to talk about literally everything that happens here. A lot of chaos. If you're a Bingetown faithful follower, we like to bucket things as much as we can to kind of guide our discussion so we're not chronologically just all over the place. It might get a little messy for us later on, but we will figure it out. Trust us in that sense. Hopefully, honestly, no further ado. I think we should just dive in.
I want
Unless
to give a
anyone has
statement. I feel like we should
Okay,
give a little bit of a statement here because this
that
this
works.
is this is Endgame here, right? So
Yeah.
I'll just start because I wrote a couple things down. But this was a fucking ride of a season. Like this was way better than season one, in my opinion. And I liked season one. I really liked this season as well. The finale was slightly weaker than the last like four sprints of episodes, which I thought were amazing into this finale, which has some amazing moments. But again, they missed the mark with a lot of stuff that I'm sure is going to piss off a ton of book readers. But
Yeah.
isolated in a vacuum, I still think it was a great episode. I still have my gripes, specifically with the dagger being the worst. Some
Yeah.
things with Moraine that I'll talk about later. Overall, like this was, I feel way better than I did coming out of season one, though. And I think the future's like there. I think we're, as long as the views and the ratings keep staying as they are and people don't like destroy it for this episode, I think we're in a good spot. Like I really enjoyed some of the Matt stuff in this episode as well. Like again, a lot of peak moments in this specific episode, but a lot of down moments as well. And I'm sure Kyle, you probably have more thoughts on that than I do because I'm not that intense in picking it apart for like differences between the books. But I do like some of the iconic moments. And yeah, so general thoughts are I liked it. I didn't love it like I have been loving some of the last episodes, but season two was a success in my opinion.
Hell yeah.
My initial feeling when I watched it the first time was this is the worst episode of the season. I don't know if I still think that way. I like it a lot better on my second watch. It's infinitely better than the season one finale, I will say.
Mhm.
I was going to say this is deja vu because
Yeah.
you said that like 2 years ago.
It feels like there's just some softballs that were coming down the plate and they just completely whiffed on them. And it feels like, obviously, having no experience of writing a TV show and what it means, it just felt like there was really easy things they could have done that they missed on. My hope is that I feel like this is an episode that show watchers will completely love.
Mhm.
Like I feel like everything was just like epic, like all of the reunions, the fucking post credit scene, we'll call it that. It was awesome. And there's like so much stuff I think to be excited about for sure. After I watched it, I was like, oh man, like, I don't know. I didn't want to say anything in our chats or anything to taint anyone's views of it, but we'll talk through it all and we'll get through it.
And just to go off the back of one of your comments there, every single non-book reader that I've talked to about this season in any capacity has been on cloud nine with this show. Like this season has been way better. People I work with, people I'm friends with that have never touched a fantasy book in their life. My dad, like universally, this season is being loved enough by non-book readers that I'm not worried about it. And again, like I probably am on the higher spectrum of book readers. So I don't know. Again, yeah, go ahead, Dave and Paul. What do you guys think is just Rooks? Because you guys are who I'm talking about now, I guess, fit in that
Well,
category.
Yeah, Dave is going to be out here yelling S tier.
Oh, you
S tier.
spoiled it. You took the
Yeah.
words right out of my mouth.
I am going to say that I think this show is A tier because there's some things the finales are tough, man. I don't know what it is, but I think it's more they go for the spectacle and then they whiff on some of like the finer points.
Yeah.
And me looking at all the things, I'm like, all right, I can't wait to get some explanations or like figure out why this was like this, because there's so many things that I didn't understand, and we'll get to it. But end of the day, this popped off, man. This was awesome. This was, everybody got their moment to shine. It was just like nonstop action. It was like the longest episode, but it still felt like the shortest going by. So I loved it.
Let me bring the energy back up here and just say this show is an S tier show because this finale was fucking incredible. I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said for the most part. There were definitely some gripes, even just as a plain old show watcher. I still had a couple gripes, but nothing that tainted my imagery of what this season finale meant to me and what it was. Definitely agree that the season 1 finale was way less. It didn't hit as many nodes as this one did for me. And as a show only watcher, this was I couldn't have asked for a better finale, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think just getting into it, I feel like the first half of this episode I thought was great. I mean, the opening was like we open for 3,000. Right when it said 3,000 years ago on the screen, I was like, "Oh baby, they're doing it to us." Yeah, like I was like, "Oh my god, this is sick." So basically, we're 3,000 years ago. We get the OG dragon, Luz Theron Telemon himself in the flesh. I love this actor. I think he just looks really cool. It's just like a very bittersweet moment for him with his old friend Ishamael, and they're at the Eye of the World. So yeah, I'm sure we were all feeling quite the emotions in this scene.
I'm just freaking out. I was like, "Oh, here we go, dude." 5 seconds in, and I'm like, type. I loved it. I mean, lose, whatever you want to.
Your boy.
He's the man. He's so cool. He's like obviously in this position of power right now. He's a freaking dragon, but just the way he's confidently standing in front of like a vulnerable and trapped Ishii, who to us is like the strongest being out there. It just nuts. So I was all about it. And then the fact that they dropped out their friends too, like they knew each other well. No idea that was a thing going
That's
forward.
so funny because that always has been like an assumption, like a general assumption in my mind when we're talking about it, but for obvious reasons.
I'm just trying to like think back, and I don't think they ever hinted towards anything like that. I mean, obviously we get Moraine later this episode, but I mean that was like, okay, that puts so many things differently than because if the wheel's just fucking going in circles, here we go. So I couldn't ask for like a better opening scene, and I don't know if it's going to be like the thing going forward because they opened the season 1 finale with the Age of Legends flashbacks. But I mean, fuck yeah, I'm all for it.
That would be a great thing.
If the only times we're getting 3,000 years ago flashbacks is in the finale, I'm going to be pissed because I just crave all the content from that time period now. My only comments here was it was really cool seeing how well they were able to, like for the scenery, we get introduced to the scene of them being there at the Eye of the World. And I could just easily tell, like, this is exactly where Rand and Ishii fought at the end of season 1. Like, it was so well portrayed that you could see the decay and everything, but you could still also at the same time tell that this is exactly where the showdown happened in our time. So that was really cool. And I also love the idea of seeing Ishii have, however many male Aes Sedai there was like 6 or 7 of them, all keeping him contained, all trapping him in there. Obviously they say it's like the strongest. I think I might be confusing this with JJK now, but was this like, were they saying that this was one of the stronger sealing spells? Or
I don't think they mentioned that's totally JJK.
Yep, there we go. But
yeah.
But yeah, I crave every content of 3,000 years ago.
I mean, no, you were kind of right, Dave. Like Luce even says, like, rumor has it I won't even be able to release this.
Oh, that's fair.
Release you. So
okay, true.
There kind of was.
It's just a cool situation that we get to see directly. I think that we are going to do this at the end of the finales of each season, which I'm fine with. I will say I liked season 1's better. Like season 1's 3,000 years ago, and it pans out to like Earth, like super advanced, was one of the best moments of the entire series for me. So this was going up against it if I was going to say this is a better Luce scene, but I'm happy that they keep the actor around, and I'm sure he'll be around for more. It seems like we're going to keep getting it until the breaking of the world happens, is what I would assume. So maybe not every season, but at least the first couple seems to be where we're going. But my ears perked up when we got the name drop of another Forsaken here. And this is a little bit skipping ahead, but I think it's important to just kind of establish it right now. It seems like we're gonna get 8 Forsaken, right? Like that's what we're gonna have.
I think so.
We already seen our main 2 more get name dropped here. And Kyle, remind me if they say Moghedien or Moghedien.
I mean, I'm a Moghedien guy.
Well, what did they say?
Well, they don't say it because it's in
Yeah,
the
they
old
do at the
tongue.
very end of the season,
they
at the
do
end
say-
of the last
At
scene.
the end of the episode. I mean,
'Cause
I'm
just-
a Mo Gideon guy. It doesn't really matter to me if I'm honest.
It's a crazy spelling, and the audiobook switches like midway through, which is
Yeah.
why this is like a thing in the fandom. Like we don't know what the correct pronunciation is, so I'm curious what they said at the end. I'm always mixing them up. So if I say Mogadine, Mogideon, it's the same person, but she gets name dropped, who we see in the epilogue of this season of this episode, and then Samael, who first time, right?
Yeah.
Which
And they
is-
don't no
and they-
context on that, but
Yes, yeah. So cool.
Luke and I were spending a lot of time deciphering the names and I guess genders of each Forsaken. So because earlier in the season, Lanfear references who were the names?
Grendel.
Mogadir,
Mogideon or Mogadine.
Mogadine, someone else, and then the boys.
Yeah.
So now we know here that I'm assuming that the other name that she drops here is a guy, Samael.
So we basically have 5 of the 8 names confirmed, right?
I think so, yeah.
And coincidentally, 5 of them are guys, but those aren't the ones that like
At least 1 or 2 more are guaranteed to be guys because of the context of how Lanfear spoke
Right,
about it
right,
earlier in the season. So that's just where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Watching all these men channel, I mean, just watching men channel in general is just weird to me because like we haven't really seen like you get Rand every once in a while, but like he's so like almost timid about it. Besides this episode, but like seeing that group of men all just imprison him, it was pretty sweet.
I just like the scene a lot because you don't get a lot of like tender moments like this between. I mean, you don't really see a Shamio like this, so I just like the idea of like Luz knows him so well, like he knows that in reality he would rather die because then that's kind of nothingness. And he basically tells him like, I don't want to do this again. Like we can't just keep killing each other and being reborn into the wheel and spit out and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of he apologizes. It was just such an interesting, like almost a thought exercise for me. Cause it's not like, I don't remember ever us like getting this in the book. So this was cool.
Mhm.
This is one of the benefits of the show is that they can give us things like this. I thought they fucking nailed it.
Incredible meta conversation about the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Like not the show, but like the actual Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool idea.
All right. So we're going to fast forward 3,000 years into our current day. And I think so we'll just kind of take things chronologically up until the Shan Chan kind of charge the city and then all hell breaks loose in the battle. There's just like smaller scenes that kind of lead up to it essentially. The one is the first one that kind of happens right after this is we get the White Cloaks kind of planning in their little war camp. I thought this looked really cool. Like visually, the colors looked really cool to like seeing like a war camp like this. And we get the Bornholds, we have Dane and Jeffrem. And I think the one, or maybe the main important thing here, they just bring up the prophecy again. The White Cloaks are aware of this prophecy about how, in the time of need, the dragon will come to Falm. Just curious of what you guys thought about like the White Cloaks in this moment, citing that prophecy. And also, we had that conversation last pod about how they're like on our team but not on our team.
I was kind of
Dead.
surprised that the father was like so quick to dismiss the idea of the dragon prophecy not coming true, or I guess coming true. I just figured with how much, again, we've talked about how they are definitely anti, the dark side, that they would at least want to embrace the idea of there being a hero, and especially it being a male hero. I feel like that definitely is a win for them as well. So I was kind of shocked that the dad was so quick to dismiss the idea, especially knowing how much at least Child Valda has dedicated himself to the light. I feel like that would have also been kind of the same case for the father, but wasn't the case. And the son seemed to be more, who was Dane, right? The son.
Yeah, Dane is the son.
Yeah, Dane seemed to be more open to the idea of it. Again, and coming back to a pretty boy, baby.
Yeah, pretty boy.
Yeah, Borny Jr. also is another name.
Borny Crouch Jr.
Yeah, Borny Crouch Jr. But no, so the White Cloaks just don't like channelers in general. Like they call the prophecies like a dead witch's lies. So I figured even male channelers, they're like, nah, fuck this. We don't want this guy here. They're not like the true light. I don't know. Like that's at least how I would take it, unless there's something else in the White Cloaks I don't know about. But
They just think the power's from the dark.
I just
kind of. It's like their
also
whole philosophy.
Borny Sr., how he was just like, we got notes asking for help, even from the Amerlin. Was I hearing that right?
No, so I think what happened was I guess
They call them the Watchers
leader
on the Wall, essentially.
yeah, the
but
leader
it's
of
people
the
from Falm.
city, the leader of the city had sent out a request to all these powers saying, "Hey, we're being invaded. We need help." And no one answered the call except for the White Cloaks. The White
Right.
Cloaks. That's why they were there in the first place.
Okay.
So it's like good guys.
Well, yeah,
he-
their response is we just fight evil, and these people are slavers. So
And he brings up. Dane says, "Why are we doing this? We're going against tens of thousands of people." And the father, I really did like the line where he's like, "No one answered the call. We did." I just really like that. It just kind of shows how the father is just like this strong-willed person who doesn't really take shit from any outsiders. And I really like that line from him.
The White Cloaks play a important part in the books, and they kind of do something that's needed for the story, and I thought they did it really well in this episode. They weren't like super incompetent, like they were killing a lot of Sean Chen, like the fight was good, but at the same time you don't have to love them, which adds that nuance to them, which makes them more interesting for this specific story. I don't really have anything else to add because I'm just happy that they got some more time to shine, because it feels like they were only in one episode besides this, and they are a very like obvious presence in the Wheel of Time book. So overall, like the net total of their season 2 impact, I thought hit for me, and I don't really have any complaints.
Well, I will tell you what, I definitely liked them less after this episode than I did going into it. But
fair enough, but we will get there. So I guess a little foreshadowing is that we'll jump into that scene-ish a little bit, where this is just Perrin, Avienda, Bane, and Chiad and Hopper are rolling up to Falm. The only reason I bring this up is just because I mentioned it either last episode or 2 episodes ago, where the ideal, like the ideal, I did that as well, where like Death is waking up from the dream, and like Perrin's kind of confused when they're talking, and Avienda just says like many people will wake from the dream today. That line just feels cool as fuck.
What did the line before that mean though? Why did she looked over and she said that doesn't belong here? Perrin looks over, there's absolutely nothing over there, and then she says many will awake from this dream.
I thought it was the white smoke of the White Cloaks.
Yeah, I think she sees. I again wrote in my notes, and I think it just hit me that that's what she was talking about. I couldn't see at first. When I first watched, I thought she meant like Hopper, like doesn't belong here for this fight, and I was like, okay, because Perrin immediately turns. It's like, hey, bro, like you should probably stay here,
because he looks over and the focus is just not on the background, so I can't tell what it was. But you're absolutely right, Paul. I think it was definitely the smoke. Now that you mentioned that,
also,
and that makes sense into why they would say many will awake from this dream today.
Yeah.
Hated that line that Perrin had to Hopper where he said stay, like he was talking like to a dog. It's like, yo, you're one of the pack, you are one of that's your bro. Like the way you said it would have been cool. She was like, hey man, I think you should stay here, but instead he said stay, and I was like, fuck you, dude, you're the new one in the pack. Hopper's your senior.
Hopper should have just listened. Dynamics. He should have just listened.
We'll get there. Don't
get that dog some mittens.
Don't pre-creep, dude. Again, it's just funny that like, what has he been eating and drinking, Hopper? I mean, I guess what have any of them been eating and drinking? But like, it's just funny to think of him just chilling on the sand while they all just go into the city, and Hopper just like rolls around basically in the dirt,
chasing lizards.
So these next scenes kind of fold into each other a little bit, but we get the immediate aftermath of the end of last episode, which is Lan, Moraine, and Rand are traveling through the ways. There's one absolutely insane thing that happens here, but there's 2 kind of cool things, and obviously we will talk about them.
I mean, Lanfear's just lack of fear, I would say, of channeling in the ways too, and a little conversation about how she caught Moraine like twisting her words too. Like she's like, hey, you open it. The Dart or Ishi took my powers. I was like, yeah, took them for a second, not anymore. So Lanfear picking up on that is awesome. And then her just flick of the wrist to open it, when meanwhile last time it was like Moraine doing the whole interpretive dance almost to go along with it. So it's just another flex, and then the flick too. And then she turns around, is like, finally we're alone. I was like, yeah, let's go, bang scene. And then with the all the Masha and Shin flying around.
Yeah, Rand's like, oh my god, you channeled. Like now it's gonna come get us.
Yeah. I was like, relax.
So I guess this is technically what the hell happened moment for people that never touched the books, right? With like the end of this scene, I think. And I guess I'm like talking to Kyle kind of right now, like without like trying to spoil anything, but like because like the Machin Shin comes in
swarms them,
and just
then they
swarms them, and you're like,
disappear.
what the fuck happens? And the next thing they're in Thom. I think that's just something. Just put a pin in it for right now.
I mean, I feel like they
Dude.
tell you at the end.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know how explicit.
Yeah.
that
They've been
was.
dropping hints
Yeah,
throughout this, and Rafe even did it in a Q&A of like
I saw
there's-
that.
Yeah, like the Easter egg was at the end of last episode. Basically,
Yes.
a use of the power is that you can teleport.
Okay.
And
It's
it's-
fucking awesome.
It's that was
Yeah.
supposed to be the takeaway from when she knocks out Matt, and then he wakes
And
up
then
in
they end
Thom
up-
without having to go through
Yeah.
the ways. We kind of had that conversation.
Mhm.
Me and Kyle just kind of slipped through without really saying
Yeah.
anything for the same. But it's obvious that's what happens. They're in the middle of the
Yeah.
ways, then they're there, like they teleported. It makes a lot more sense, especially with how the Forsaken are constantly like meeting up and stuff like that. So that's really what you're supposed to get out of there. But another thing I wanted to bring up too was I was worried how Lanfear and Moraine were going to be in the same scene directly after last episode. And I think they handled it pretty much as best as I could have hoped, because I was worried Lanfear was going to be like too nice or like not cruel
Yeah.
enough. But her flicking her out and just eliminating the problem and saying, when the time comes, raise the banner, like that was like as good as we could have hoped without them coming to fighting. So I walked away from this scene happy. I don't know. Is that what she said, right? She said, when the time
Yeah.
comes, raise the banner.
And I think she
Raise
even
the
says
banner.
like you're literally only alive because I need you.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you have a role to fulfill. That's why you're not dead right now. I like that like reminder of the fact that Moraine's kind of like a bug almost in her eyes.
And raise the banner, I'm guessing just means summon the dragon.
Yeah, like
Okay.
to help
mean,
fulfill the
yeah.
prophecy. Yeah.
Well, because
She
when
fucking
she
did.
first says it, I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? Raise
Yeah.
the banners. And it was obviously meant to be ambiguous, but obviously looking back on it makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that just clicked right now. So thank
Yeah,
you for that.
exactly.
I know
didn't
you're
click
saying
for
it was
me.
obvious, but you know,
It was literally
apparently
my
not to me.
I wrote it in my notes, like, why does she say raise the banners? But like looking back, I easy delete to that note.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
The-
Just to go back to the teleport thing too,
Mhm.
it does make sense because even at the beginning of this season, when Ichi is in the carriage with Perrin
Mhm.
and they get attacked, he just steps out the door, and I'm like, is he even there? Like, is that an illusion this whole time? So they've been kind of leaving trails around, I guess. But yeah, just the confirmation of that definitely makes me view things differently.
It's
Forgotten
one of those-
Weaves, baby.
Yes, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I was just going to
That's
bring
exactly
up. It's
what it
something
is.
that nobody can do.
And the comment in episode 3 maybe, when Moraine and Rand are on the run and they have the horses, and she says like, "Oh, horse, is there anything slower?" You guys interpreted that insanely well, because like in the books, like we're not really thinking about like the fact they had flying cars, but in reality, like they were just teleporting around.
And there's also another method of like moving around that I thought
Yeah.
she was actually talking about, but whatever. That's a later
People
thing.
people were like, book readers were kind of upset. They're like, why the hell would she ever ride the horse? Like, there's no need. If she knew they were going to Tarvalon, like she should have just went to Tarvalon. But it was like it's fine because the storytelling worked way better that
No,
way.
but
Well,
she
I
was
guess-
chasing them.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
wasn't
you
gonna
gotta
know-
I
tracking.
agree.
She's
just saying.
tracking them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
You gotta follow
completely
the
different
trail.
thing.
You're
Yeah,
not just gonna show up and
with
just
the
like
with the whip of power, that was awesome.
Oh,
We wouldn't
fuck
have gotten
yeah.
that. Like, come on.
They call it I guess we can just put a name to it. It's not teleporting. They call it traveling with a capital T. So it's like I like
So
that because
talent,
it's like the only
Capital T.
like it's traveling. It's their own like their form of transportation. Like nothing else fits into traveling besides teleporting. Because why
sorry,
would
are
you
the
do
Forsaken the
anything
only
else
ones-
but teleport?
Are they the only
Yeah.
ones? Are Forsaken the only ones that can do this?
It seems like they're the only ones that know how to do it.
Yeah,
like
because
one
I
of
mean,
those
obviously, if Moraine knew how to do it, rather than taking the ways all the time, she would just. And
But
I'm guessing
also, you have to be really like it's not like an easy weave.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
probably got tiny ass legs from their lack of walking around.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, why would you walk anywhere? Okay. So we get out of the ways. Lanfear and Rand have split up at this point. We'll obviously meet up with Rand later. Lanfear's scene here is that she goes right to Ishamael. They have a little conversation. I initially wrote in my notes that this is where the betrayal sinks in, but it's so not true. So I backspaced it, but I said it out loud to then create a little conversation, because some interesting stuff does get said in this scene, but it's not
Mhm.
necessarily betrayal.
I mean, we get another the quote of the day. It feels like is there are many paths to walk in the night, and it just gets laid down here. I mean, Ishii is pressuring Lanfear to kind of almost admit that she's working with Rand here, and then she counters with that point, and Ishii's like, I get what you're saying, but sounds like the path that you're walking is directly going to go against what we're doing here. So he definitely seemed to kind of not really buy into what Lanfear was doing here, but yeah, I took it as they were kind of discussing whether Rand was ready to join the Dark. And Lanfear was just kind of pressuring him and saying, yes, he's ready. He's saying, no, we need more events to have him push towards the Dark is what it seemed like he was kind of saying there.
Yeah, I like the insight into his kind of personality a little bit, whether it's a true characterization of him, if not, but she's kind of like, you would just keep planning and planning and planning and planning and want every piece to be perfect, but like it's not going to end up like that. He's either going to choose us or not. So I like that kind of a little insight, into like him almost as a person.
I thought this was genius for both of them. I thought it added a lot to both of their characters, and this was really good as just somebody who's like me thinking about it through the eyes of somebody who doesn't know too much about them. Like this was so good. Like, yeah, is Lanfear saying like let's just do it just because she's like impulsive, or is she saying this because she's betraying Ishii? Like, who knows? But she also goes on to say he's never going to join us unless he knows we're individuals. Like we're not just blindly following the Dark. Like we all have our own goals. And I've been harping on that all season anytime they talk about it, because I think it's very important quality of the Forsaken, and it comes out tenfold here. So it's like it pretty much is solidified that these, and then especially with the epilogue and Mogadine comes in, and that adds to it even more. Like that's one of my favorite themes about the dark side, and they keep leaning into it. So I've been happy with every time we have these conversations. Plus, anytime it's just Forsaken talking, it's always like a top 5 moments. Yeah, it's like it's like the best moments ever. That's why at the end, like, yeah, fuck yeah.
That's why I ride or die for the dark side, baby. There's many paths to walk. It sounds like if you're walking the light path, you only got one path to choose. Lame. Let's go multi.
Good.
No, I like this a lot because it kind of showed the fact that Lanfear sees Rand like lose the Dragon Reborn as the star of the show, and Ishii kind of sees him as a tool. So that you guys had a line earlier when we were recording, like real early on, where you were like, yeah, like if all the Forsaken and Dark Friends were on the same page, like they'd be so easily able to conquer over like the Aes Sedai and everybody. And I mean, this just reinforces it and really shows you why it's like all these powerful people and they all just have different ideals in general. You know, sometimes they overlap, but not on everywhere. So I just love the fact that they're like super strong bad guys, but they're also wild cards. It's like, oh my God, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Ishii's
they're fun.
Ishii's feeling that regret of waking her first, because it's funny. It's just like 2 or 3 episodes ago. He's like, I definitely chose you for a reason. I woke you for a reason, and now he's probably thinking I shouldn't have chose her.
Yeah. It's like that slimy little schemer.
So, question, well, honestly, spoiler jumping forward, but is this when he leaves to go break the seals? Do you think?
No.
Okay.
Because they're in the room with him. The seals. They're all those slabs.
Oh, right there.
Those slabs are the seals.
I thought they were. Okay,
we can confirm. Like, I guess we'll talk
so
about it, but those are it.
So Lanfear sees them, and then that's why she goes to Doman and is like, "You need to."
Yes.
Does she say you need to steal them from there, or is she like, "I'll give them to you to ship them out"?
She specifically, I believe, uses the words "give them to him."
Okay.
Okay. I totally didn't get that.
And we're right about to get there. The only kind of quote unquote background setting scene is just we have like the incense walk to the gates. We kind of talked about it initially. This is like the White Cloaks charge into the city. The only reason I bring this up because this is like my one of my gripes of the episode, and it's not even like a story thing. It's like a suspense of belief type of thing. And I love me a nice cavalry charge. Do not get me wrong. I mean, usually the unsung MVPs of battle for sure, but like. You couldn't hide a fucking cavalry charge of this size behind a fucking incense cloud created by 6 little boys. Like the fucking the walls would be shaking in the city. Like it's just like I just don't like. Yeah, I just don't like how like the silence of horse hooves up until like the part when it's convenient. It's just like a personal thing for me.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. I was like, as soon as they were visible, I was like, dude, just shut the gate. And it's like, how did they get that close without
Yeah.
shutting the gate and the way they broke in and whatever?
You can't
Like, you can
charge a
argue it.
single city gate, with like fucking 1,000 men on horseback. It's just like they would see you and hear you so far away and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, look at these
Plus,
dumbasses."
such a small little door. It's like you guys form a single file line
Yeah.
on all your horses. They're like, oh, oh, oh. But all right,
All right, yeah.
enough of that.
Back to the fun stuff, which
But wait,
is so.
do we do
Go
the land and marine thing first? Like that's kind of like a side piece, or is that you gonna link that into?
I had that was like a little the battle bucket,
Whoa,
Okay.
you don't trust the
just
host?
kind of to set us up for later.
Well, I mean, we were doing
it's
all
all
the
good.
other setup for everybody else, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is purely me responding to that on the fly because clearly I made a little mistake in my notes. So I appreciate you unquestioningly having my back, Dave. Thank you. Maybe I do like the shadow.
Yeah, you did.
All right. So this is the battle. So there's chaos is going on. Essentially, the White Cloaks have breached the walls. Things are happening. The first little bucket that we're going to discuss, we're going to go right back into our Forsaken talk because we love it so much. This is the Forsaken background planning bucket, essentially. So the first scene in this is a Lanfear scene as Lady Selene. So we kind of just talked about it a little bit. She sees an old friend who we learn is an old friend in this scene, which I thought was a great little detail. But Master Doman, our boy, the captain of the Spray, and she offers him a lot of gold for a very interesting favor, which we know is to dump these seals into the ocean.
I love that he addresses her as Celine. What are you doing
Yeah.
here? Because I mean, obviously, we have been stuck on Lanfear for a few episodes now, and Master Doman's living in the past out here. Doesn't even know who she is, but she says like she's got the 6, slabs, as Kyle likes to call them, and I kind of knew immediately in my head. I was like, we're talking 8 Forsaken. We know Ishi and Lanfear.
That's quick
Makes
maths right
sense.
there.
Yeah, I was like, I think I even said it aloud to Luke. There was no comment over there, but I was like, these have got to be the other Forsaken. But it was in my head, it was confusing trying to decide why Lanfear wanted to get rid of him. Makes sense that she was just actually for Rand the whole time, and she's doing this for him, which makes sense. So, love seeing Doman. Excited to see more of him. I feel like since he's a traveler, he's just capable of popping up sporadically throughout the show. So this won't be I don't think this will be the last time we see of him.
All right, can you guys explain this to me? So, Ishi had all the slabs there, but they weren't released.
Correct.
Okay, so she was like, "All right, grab all these unreleased things and throw them in the ocean." Okay,
Yeah.
Well, she
So
was
like
gonna
no
grab
one would
them.
ever find them again. Yeah.
I totally wasn't getting that. Okay, now that makes so much more sense. I was like, I don't know why she's doing that. I guess they're clues to be able to unlock other Forsakens. I didn't realize it was actually the thing holding them in because when we saw Lanfear get released, I don't know. I was focusing on the whole building or whatever. I guess focusing on that one little disc of moonstone or
Well, that's what I was.
heartstone, moonstone.
Queen DR Hearthstone.
Well, yeah, Lanfear's the lady of the night. So Moon, she worked at the inn, the Crescent. So you're thinking right there.
Totally on
The-
purpose.
I remember mentioning last episode talking about the slabs and just because like we see them in the dream world initially when Lanfear and Ishamael first had that conversation there. I just remember being confused because it felt like it's crazy that he has all of them already type of deal. It felt like I thought that was gonna be maybe like a story point of like him getting them slow, but I guess it makes more. It kind of just expedites it. It's much better, I think, this way. I was just like, whoa, what the hell are they going to do with this? And I think it worked out really well what they did with it this episode. I like how Master Doman's like, dude, that's so much money. What do you mean? And she gives him she goes like this with that bag, and he could have got way more money for them than that bag for sure.
I was like, what the fuck is in there? It's better be like, I don't even know what.
If you go dump that $1 million in the ocean, I'll give you 10 grand.
Yeah, she didn't even have the line. There's more where that came from. She just holds up that little pouch.
That's true. That's true. I also
yeah.
thought it was funny. Like it kind of begs the question of like, why didn't Luce there and just do that? Like they had all the seals, just like go dump them in the fucking ocean, and we never had to talk about it again.
It is a little tricky though, the whole ceiling thing, because like Lou's obvious, like it makes sense. Like Hearthstone, they're saying nothing can break it, not even the one power. But then and then it goes back into the 3,000 years ago. It makes sense that Lou's is kind of talking about the Hearthstone and sealing Ishi in there, saying even I might not even be able to get you out of this. But then I'm also thinking, Ishi released everyone so easily. Like, is there a specific?
Well, no, he didn't release anybody except for Lanfear.
He released Lanfear specifically with such ease. I'm just wondering if there's maybe like a specific weave or something that allowed him to crack the Hearthstone so easily.
So there's a specific plot point that I don't think we should talk about in regards
That's
to
just
the
something
seals.
that I'm
No, I understand what you're saying, and like at the time, I think he was telling the truth, but I think it's a different set of circumstances right now, and I'm dancing around this because this is like a plot point later, in relation to the material and the seals themselves. So I guess it's best to just let you two just guess, than us give you an answer because it'll probably come back up.
Kyle kept hitting at the slabs, and I was like, I don't even know like what you're referring to, but like if I were to go back and like look, and then I would be more receptive of everything.
So what it is?
They're there in every scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I just
so at the
never-
eye of the world, like when they're standing at the end of season 1, when they're standing on
Right.
that slab, that is the seal,
Right.
and like Rand shoots the power and busts it. So
Mhm.
my thinking is that what Ishii did was go directly to, once he came up with this plan, went to where Lanfear's was, broke hers, and then went to all the other ones, collected them, and said these are mine, and like hoarded them.
I
But they're
even took it-
basically like huge slabs of just fucking like circular.
I even took it
concrete.
as he probably gathered them first and then awoke Lanfear.
Well, no, because we saw him go to where Lanfear was in the opening. We
Yeah, but he
saw
could have had the other slabs, like, because I'm just thinking like it would have made sense for him if, even if he awoke Lanfear, knowing that she might have a chance of betraying her, just being a little bit like cautious on the end, like not knowing she is a wild card. To me, she's more of a wild card than is she. Like I feel like he would have. I'm just trying to give flowers to my guy, just in the sense that I feel like he would have prepped for Lanfear to, like when he released her. By
Okay, to have
having all
like
of them.
having this backup plan essentially of
Yeah,
like
kind
just
of like
releasing
if-
all of them.
If
And
I didn't gather them, if I released Lanfear, how do I know she just doesn't go look for him and release them herself?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
a good point.
that makes sense because he was talking about, we're not ready yet for the dragon to be announced because he's the dude that wants backup plans on backup plans. So it makes sense that he had a plan for Lanfear. I'm a little bit upset. I thought we were gonna kind of get like a race to
I
the
remember you-
Forsaken holds. And
Yeah, I
like,
remember you saying this.
oh, like the locations revealed, like we got to beat them there. But I guess with the teleport and shit, that kind of busts
this
that
is
out the
more
window.
fun because now going forward, at any moment when we're watching seasons, we can be guessing, is that a Forsaken? Because now they can be out already. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
think it
I was gonna
actually
say, Paul,
works.
it's kind of almost like it's still that way. It's just they're unsealed now. Like they're out there in the world, and now it's not necessarily a race we're trying to find them, because I don't think we really want to find them, but like they're out there now, and
Yeah.
it's like we will obviously be encountering them in the future.
And that'll be fun for the podcast.
You're all right. So speaking of plans of Ishamael, this is the next scene, essentially him going to Surath, and some things obviously happen around this, between this, et cetera, et cetera. But he goes to Surath and gives her some new marching orders, which is essentially take your strongest Damane, and you're gonna have to shield Rand when I give you the order. There's just one comment that I will want to make, but obviously we'll talk about it, and then if it doesn't get touched, I will make it.
I just love that he's like, wait for my signal, turns around to leave, and she speaks up to question him, and he just turns around and death stares at her. And she's like, oh, sorry. I just
Yeah.
totally
Her
forgot my
voice
place.
too. Her voice's name's Alwyn, and I was like, who the fuck does she think she is when she's like, she says something to him to like question him. I'm like, you're like lower than the low right now. Like, where are
Yeah.
you getting the balls?
My only comment is on Ishii mentioning to her at the very, very end, saying, do you have anyone that can gentle a guy? I think is what they
Like
specifically
you,
said.
because he said, make sure you have enough girls like on tap, basically, and it says,
Yes.
do they know how to gentle?
Yeah. That's just interesting because I know, like, I feel like gentling and stilling it seems like it's been presented as a pretty difficult task to do. And
You need a bunch of you need.
yeah,
Is it 14? Or am I making that number up?
So
To
14,
gentle someone, you need
there's a
to-
different reason for 14 or 13.
Way to spoil it, bro.
Nah, I mean, there's
I'd
no.
be like, oh,
That's
13
that's
trees in the
literally-
background.
That's literally why Swan showed up to
No, it's gonna be 8
Kyrian
now.
with 14, right? Or 13. Whatever the fuck the number is. It's, you know.
Yeah, someone will answer in the comments, but I have a different thing in my mind of what it would be. But it could be both of the
Okay,
things. It could be
either
stealing
way.
and the other thing I'm thinking of, stealing / gentling, and the other thing I'm thinking of.
it's
But as
just-
always, people in the comments will get us right.
it's interesting because we kind of know that Ishii's fully prepared to either just have Rand join the dark side or just kill him. So I just wonder, like why the middle ground of gentling him? Like again, you could have just shielded and killed him, or shielded, made your case to have him join you,
I think gentling accomplishes the same thing of like, okay, next turning is when like this guarantees another turning, right?
I guess so. The only thing I can think of maybe is like get him to like that level of despair, like taking the dragon off the board is like technically still good for the shadow of like you're setting the world up where like there's no dragon, but like we're in that era where he's supposed to be, which is like the worst case scenario. I guess I don't really know for sure. I think that's a decent point, Dave.
Pulling this out of my butt, but what are the options? Because later on we get man blowing the horn and saying "I remember." So I don't know what that means, but
you say man.
Yeah, what the fuck did you just say?
Did I say
You combined
man.
Man.
You
Just
you
man.
combined Rand and Matt.
That's
I'm
what I
pretty sure,
heard.
and you said
I think land,
man.
too.
Well, technically,
But you meant to say Matt. You meant to say
It was
Matt.
just man.
yeah, Matt the man? Come on, we called him
Not
man
the
earlier,
man.
right?
I'm gonna shoo that idea away that he is not the
like
man.
a spoiler-free script. Just man blows the horn.
I was gonna let it go, but then Dave stopped it. I was just
All
like,
right,
I heard
well,
it.
Thank God. Well, I didn't. But anyway, are you guys good?
Yeah, did you get a notification right there?
No,
Someone just signed me out of Zoom.
fuckers.
Jimmy.
I think
Kathleen, maybe. All right,
Yeah, maybe
sorry.
they're recording Survivor.
are they?
That was the only thing I could think of.
I think we should be okay though.
Well, tell
Yeah,
them to fuck off.
she just
basically.
texted. Yes.
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying. My only guess to why Issue wanted to keep him gentled was so that he still had time to convince him that the dark was like the good side and time to join him, and maybe on next cycle like he would remember or something like that. But that is totally just me making shit up right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure that'll be a topic of discussion that the internet will get into. I guess I'm excited to see people's takes. I think that is a very good point, Dave, from where I stand. My two comments, because I know I said one, but I have two now, is that I like how they are implying that this OG baby Bender chick is like very strong. He kind of says, obviously, Egwene's like the one that he's talking about when he's like, is she in position? She's at the tower. So Surratt's like got Egwene where she needs to be, essentially. And then he says, like, you know, something about like your strongest Damane or whatever. Yeah. And it's obviously that girl that they've been showing us and showing us and showing us and showing us. I just like we're getting that reinforcement.
Oh. I never put that together. I just assumed he was talking about Egwene there for some reason. I didn't even think about that.
And then the second one is that the first time I watched, he walks in and he like dusts his hands off. And I remember thinking, like, what the fuck is that? And then because he just came back from breaking all of the seals, so that's why his hands are all. So he like that was like the little sign of like a timeline of it, pretty much, which is fucking cool. Which is early on, technically.
Yeah, that's good
Like,
writing right there.
Yeah, like it was pretty early on in the fight almost. So like that's kind of cool that they like were unsealed and like everything was going on and they were like they had time almost to like interact with the battle. Obviously, it seems like they didn't. But I thought that was a cool little touch for sure.
I saw him doing that. I didn't even make a note, and I was wondering what is he doing there. He's doing the LeBron James. He's getting.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like they zoom in on it, and I was like, well, okay, clearly this means something. And then I was like, oh, I can.
I had make a note, and so much other shit happened. Totally took a backseat.
The whack thing to think about is if Breaking Seals is anything like when Lanfear was released. That just means that all six, like the other six, were just like in Thom, and they all just like
got out of
just
Dodge.
chose.
That's crazy. What if we already
participate?
saw another one? That's totally possible, right? But I probably not, just because
no, it's possible.
Just because of casting purposes, probably not.
If
But
they had Pat and Fane in the background of an entire season, they could.
Yeah, but he was like cast from the start as Pat and Fane. Like it might be too preemptive to have casted like their actual. You know, all of them type of deal. Yeah, I think that's what Luke was getting at.
Gotcha.
All right. So now we're going to move on to a new bucket within this chaos. So this new bucket's going to be Nynaeve and Elaine. So we're going to take them kind of throughout their whole story up until just the tower moments is like the big finale, obviously push. Not a ton happens with them, but I think there's some interesting things to talk about for sure, though. So the first thing we get is Nynaeve dressed up as the Soldam. Excuse me, as I burp into the microphone. And she's kind of just forcing the info out of the new Damane. we don't learn a ton here. I'm just very curious of what we thought about like Nynaeve, like who we know as like the wisdom, the healer, but we also know she has this side to her of just like not necessarily reveling in hurting this chick, but like just giving her the pain so hard. Because we hated Rena because Rena was doing it to our girl. So we see Nynaeve doing it to someone we technically don't like, but I don't know
We
if
approve
we
of
like
we
it.
approve.
Yeah.
We approve of the torture on the other side.
I had a note that
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm like Luke is like Nynaeve stock rising because of this scene. Like I'm sure, but no, I loved it. I mean, somebody needed that brutal side. What were they gonna do? Be like, oh no, I'm sorry. Like, did I hurt you? Like Elaine, when she was like, she was almost gonna tell her to stop, and I was like, you better not. You better let
Yeah,
her
Elaine did
cook,
not
man.
like it.
Let her cook. So I liked it. She's brutal. She's harsh, and I just thought she looked like a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, dude. Revenge porn's the best. Paul knows me. I love this kind of shit. And if Nynaeve didn't have this scene,
Okay.
she was gonna be
Out of
and,
context, that line is horrific.
Yeah,
No,
wait,
dude.
what?
You never heard that
Follows
term?
me. No, I know,
No.
for sure. I'm just
That's
saying,
why-
like, the actual reality
Oh,
of
yeah.
revenge porn. Revenge porn, I mean, Paul knows me.
It sounds like a crazy backstory. Like
I wish I said in shows at the end. of that, but
yeah.
whatever.
Luke likes revenge.
Dude, like I still always anytime I'm talking about like the way that I was satisfied with Joffrey or Ramsay's
Yeah.
storyline is kind of what I'm like hinting at.
Mhm.
And without this scene, dude, Nynaeve was easily my LVP of the
Oh, this-
episode because the end because
Yeah.
everything after that everything after
Get
this
fired up.
is just awful from her in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I know I already have someone in the comments a couple weeks ago call me out for calling her an LVP, but I've been
Yeah.
putting on the fucking the easy mode for my Nynaeve hate. So just enjoy that.
I'm glad you said it because I was absolutely going to say this will be the only praise I give Nynaeve for the entire episode
Yeah.
because she definitely did her job here. I loved actually seeing her torture the person because I'm just thinking in my head, this Damane has been or this Soldam has been torturing a Damane
Yeah.
to worse extents. So give it back. Definitely give her a taste of her own medicine. So great scene for Nynaeve. Definitely Elaine being a little softy. We love softies, but come on, we're trying to save some people here. We need to do this.
Also, Nynaeve looked amazing. I love her
Oh,
in
yeah.
in the
Those outfits are really cool. I like the spine look to the backs and everything. Like they're very
Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
Definitely looks like a Ninja Turtle. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say that I love Nynaeve's explanation of it. She just kind of feels everything like in her mind, and
The
then
bundle of sensations.
all it takes is a little push. I kind of like that aspect of it. And then I love how the prisoner, the one with the collar on, is like I can't go outside. I can't let them see me like this. Like it's the shame would be too much. Basically, it's like she would rather get tortured again than go out there at first. So I don't know. No, she didn't realize how much Nynaeve would torture her, I guess.
They pulled a line straight from the books here. So at first I remember thinking like, damn, this is like a crazy Nynaeve moment. But I don't want to read all of it, but I almost want to read all of it because it is like exactly like the point of why you guys are feeling like positively towards it. Of like this is what it should be. So Nynaeve basically says, as far as I'm concerned, you're worse than a murderer, worse than a dark friend. I can't think of anything worse than you. The fact that I have to wear this thing on my wrist to be the same as you for even an hour sickens me. So if you think there is anything I'll balk at doing to you, think again. You don't want to be seen? Good. Neither do we. No one really looks at the Damane though, so as long as you keep your head down the way at least one is supposed to, no one will even notice you. But you had better do your best. You can make sure the rest of us aren't noticed either. If we are, you will surely be seen, and that is not enough to hold you. I promise you. I'll make you curse the first kiss your mother ever gave your father. Do we understand each other? And it's like,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You were gonna wish your dad never banged your mom, man.
Yeah, pretty much with the PC version of that almost.
I forgot why I wrote great quote as a note, and I just knew one of you guys would write it, and I just didn't remember what it was. But there you go. That's the
she
one.
just like talks her completely down. It's like, all right, B, this is how it's gonna go. All right, and then the next is not great for the team. So
No.
the
Fucking arrows, man.
the
Fucking arrows.
Damane gets murked. And I just like how in that scene, like they walk into this courtyard of just complete chaos. The tower is like still so far away, and this Nynaeve goes, "We made it." It's like, what are you talking about? You made it.
like
And then
25 minutes.
And Damani gets murked. Lane catches one in the knee. And it's like, we fucking made it. What are you talking about?
All right.
Yeah.
We never made it to Mount Weather.
Yeah, not even close.
Somebody explain to me why Elaine couldn't heal herself.
That is one thing you cannot heal yourself with the
I feel like
power.
we've talked about that. Yeah, like
Remember-
Moraine in
yeah.
episode 1.
It's not
when
like an oath, yeah, but it's just like a
Okay.
boundary. Is not
Well, that
the
makes
word,
me
but-
feel better at least. So
No,
like
it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
because she like 2 seconds later she starts healing Rand, and I'm like furious over here. I'm like,
Yeah,
why is she
no.
waiting on I need?
Yeah.
So just this is total pushing the boundaries of the rules. Could she have pulled out the arrow by herself using the
Yeah.
one power? Okay.
Using the one power, she could probably remove the arrow from herself.
She just liked the
That would be my
slow
take. I feel like
Nynaeve
that's
push.
That's not healing yourself. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
insane.
can we
I
talk
feel
about
like
that? That was my comment. Is what was
why are we
the-
not pulling it?
Yeah, they decided to push, and she's
Okay.
like, "Great idea," and I'm like, "No, not a great idea. Like,
So-
if anything, snap it and then
Yes.
like pull it. Like,
Yeah.
what the
No,
fuck?
don't pull. Exactly. Like you're supposed to push, but yes, snap the end off so the feathers aren't like going through your fucking legs flesh.
Yeah, that was funny.
I did not
now,
know that
now
you were
I'm
supposed to
curious.
push,
Why are
though.
you not supposed to pull?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Like pushing just
Because-
like was like so awkward. It could have just like broken in half.
because the arrowhead is gonna rip more shit on the way out. So you're
Oh,
supposed to like,
you're
push
saying-
through.
Okay, we were on the same page.
Yeah,
but
don't they use this-
Oh! I meant like
snap the
I
arrowhead
was
and
I was
pull?
assuming it went like it had an exit wound, and like she could have just pulled the rest of the shaft like
Oh,
fully
okay.
through.
Yeah,
No, yes, okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the
Yeah,
same thing.
not like pull it out. Yeah,
we were
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the same thing. Just one
Yes.
was the same push, and one was the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
pull.
yeah, yeah. I just the
You grab from the front, I grab from the back. So
just the way it looked of her just like pushing down on it just felt like that can't be
Super
the right
slow.
way to
I was
do
like,
that.
dude,
I guess also, I mean, how much interaction does Nynaeve have with battle medicine and people getting stuck with arrows? How about maybe take it like that, maybe?
also,
And she's
fair enough.
flustered. Okay, she's
I was like,
flustered.
Fair
what
enough.
else is it gonna take for you to channel that? Your daughter to die again?
Honestly,
God.
Oh, dude,
Honestly.
just put that seatbelt on and strap in, baby.
At least she had the foresight to not listen to Elaine when Elaine's like, "Leave me." She's like,
Okay.
"Nah, I need your channeling." Like,
That
I'm
whole-
clearly a bum.
That whole conversation where she's like trying to get listen to Elaine, like imagine a or a flower budding, and she's like, no, that doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. The beers are hidden. That doesn't work for me. So I was like, okay, is it just her method? Like if she imagines something else, like she already tried the river flowing. She should maybe listen to the wind again. Like, in season 1, she was getting some things there. So I didn't.
There's
The
also some
current-
things
Yeah,
with that.
the current
too.
the current understanding of the sisters in the tower essentially is that she cannot channel unless she's like angry or afraid.
It's almost like
I think is the two words they use this season.
it's like she's touching the other side of the power where you need to grab it. It's not like just the water where you fucking flow with it. It's like she's touching the other
It's-
dude's side. So,
It's obviously a major plot point for her, so
Mhm. It'll
that
be
will
a thing.
something.
Yeah.
all right, is she a dude? Really? And this is like pushing real live subjects or something.
That's a wild take. I'll just say.
I
I'm not one to shoot down in theory, but that is
Yeah.
a take.
I usually am quick to hop on to Paul's
Yeah,
theory.
Dave's like,
That
"Oh, yeah, that
one,
makes a lot of
I'll-
sense."
I'll jump ship on that one.
I would think Lan has something to say about that, but
Yeah.
Also true. Yeah, you could just ask him. All right. So now our next bucket is going to be Matrim Coffin, Matt or Mand, as some of us maybe not like to call him, but do call him. So this is kind of just going to be all the dagger stuff before he escapes. So there's kind of scenes mashed together, but basically Pat and Fane is called upon by Ishii to accelerate their plans. Naturally, that involves Matt. Pat and Fane presents Matt as he's kind of locked in that room where he just had his trip in with the dagger. And Matt makes a decision that surprises Pat and Fane. It's a surprise to me of the ingenuity of it. And he kind of looks like a badass almost at the end. So a lot of things kind of happen here. There's like 4 or 5 scenes together, but
let me put it out there. This is just a retcon, and let's just move on about it, because that is what
Yeah.
this is. There is no explainable reason why Loyal, Ingtar, Uno weren't dead at the end of last season, because this thing just, if it touches you, this is what it's supposed to be like. is what it is now, which means like, okay,
Kind of.
well, kind of, but it's I guess it's a little bit different, but it's like way more close to what it's supposed
Yeah.
to be than
It's totally an
in-
auto kill.
This is just we just have to accept that they admit that they fucked up in season 1 and move on, and I
Yeah.
like it a lot better once we do that.
I want them to spend money, go back, CGI it out, like get rid of the Ruby Dagger. It is causing so much confusion, I'm sure, for so many watchers out
Yeah.
there. Like, and I'm like still mad about it. I know they like owned up to it, but I'm like, I want more. Like, whose fault exactly was it? Because how does that
Someone's heads to roll.
how does that trickle through? That is such a big plot point. So I'm like, I know it was like COVID, but like, did they need like reshoots or some other shit? Like, I just don't get it.
Well,
So
if you didn't know, after the last actor that played Matt left the show, they reshot every single
Yes.
scene that he was in. So it like there was a lot that went into fixing this, and moving forward, we're fixed. Boom, done.
Yeah, I think it was more like the context of like who could possibly even be in the shot, because they're kind of painting themselves in a corner of it was literally Patton Fane with an auto kill dagger, and then Fades with auto kill swords, and I was like, how do we do this? So I think that's kind of what happened. So yeah, it has a new power basically, which is fucking it just melts steel.
I think it just
Which-
melts anything it touches.
I was
which
waiting.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about that personally. I don't like it. I'm gonna say at all. And that feels like a type of thing of like, how does it turn it on and off?
I'm like, how's it not going through its own hill? I mean,
Yeah,
I
how
mean,
does
I
it sit on the
guess
table? How when he knocks it off, does it not go through the floor? Like the fucking lightsaber in the Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah,
Like, how is it
he's
not just doing
he's
that?
not touching it when he's going through the doorknob. Like he's holding the stick. So
Look,
like,
just devil's advocate
Now
here.
I'm thinking about the lightsaber episode, and it's so funny.
I hate the knife too. Like that is definitely my main
Yeah.
gripe as a show watcher is the knife. That's obviously the one thing that I probably liked least amount of this whole show so far. And if that's it, whatever, we'll move on from it. But to play devil's advocate, if it's only the metal part that is technically able to cut through anything, I feel like the knife hilt was preventing the actual blade from like touching the table.
That's fair.
It's a magical item with a
no,
red ruby in it.
Again,
I mean,
everything you
yeah.
guys said, the knife is stupid because like we
It's
saw
just like-
when it stabbed Matt in season 1 that it didn't like melt his skin or anything. Like it just infected him with something. And now we're kind of seeing it melt things and infect people. I don't
Yeah,
really
it just
know.
has two things now, and
Well,
it just feels like Matt could have got out just being like a sneaky little boy. Like that's who more in his
will s-
character than like this knife getting like a second buff.
I will say I always love seeing when Matt is resourceful, like when Leandrin had him trapped at the White Castle. Like I love seeing him kind of plot his way out of there. And even here, like knowing that he's going through this like addiction of the knife, like craving its touch pretty much. And then he comes up with this genius idea in the thought of like just wanting to straight up touch the knife that he's able to just wield it like a staff. I thought that was really good. But yeah, knife overall, L.
You're doing the White Castle thing on purpose, right?
Yes,
I
it's
just
White
want to make
Tower
sure
now,
because
no,
we have
it's
not
still-
said
Yeah,
White Tower.
he did it last episode, and
did.
we didn't say
No.
anything.
We haven't said
My-
White Tower in a while, so I just wanted to make sure that
It's
you
100% the White Tower. For anyone who hasn't listened, Paul
no,
accidentally
no,
called
you're
it the
good.
White Castle.
I love the
episode
bit.
3,
I love the bit.
Damn, Paul.
put me on blast. Call me my name. What the fuck did Land do last season when he's like, I will dispose of it, and Patton Fane just ends up with it like 2 seconds later in season 1? Like that annoys me because also Land threw a cloth over it, and the cloth was touching the blade, and he was able to move it then. And okay, so that lines up, but at the same time, why didn't
It
You know,
sucks, dude. That's why.
Just get rid of it. Yeah,
It's just
dude, I
poorly
just-
written. That's the worst part. Yeah.
it bothers me. It bothers me a
it
lot.
totally bothers me.
But-
For as much of a big part as they made it.
I mean, it's a huge part, not just
Yeah.
already.
It was
it's
like the
going to-
skeleton key to the whole fucking episode.
It's still going to be a huge part, but put that shit aside and just like my childhood self coming out. It's fucking badass as hell when he puts it to the staff and he just starts whipping it around. Like I was like,
That's when
holy
he became
shit,
Matt
man.
the Man.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
I
when he
thought
became
everybody
Man.
knew. Yeah.
I love Patton Fane's reaction of him like reacting to Matt coming out of the door because he's so cocky. He's just like, oh,
It's
I
1
thought you-
hour, yeah.
yeah, I thought you were gonna last longer than this. And he just is holding it in the staff and he's just like, oh,
Yeah.
that was a great reaction. Just again, shout out to Matt. I think his resourcefulness is just really fun to see in these moments when he's like back against the wall. He's really good at thinking through things.
I like Patton Fane's attempt to convince him of like coming to the dark side and stuff when he says like accepting and embracing the darkest parts of your soul, that's real strength. That was just like an interesting, obviously different perspective than maybe most people are just used to even hearing. And then I like how he says that like pretending like they don't exist like some hero from a Gleeman's Tale, we both know that's not you. And then I guess that's an interesting kind of flash into the horn blowing scene when they get to comment if he's like I remember and all that kind of stuff, and we know that summons old heroes and things like that. I thought that was an interesting line they put there. I have thoughts about that as a whole, but we'll obviously get there when we get there. And the whistling motif is fantastic when he whistles as he leaves the room. It's just like fuck yeah, that's a big smile on my face.
I want that to be my thing from now on. I'm gonna start whistling when I'm out.
I thought he came off a little bit like
Weak.
like kind of like a little bitch, a little bit Patton Fane, which I guess he was supposed to, but that's just I don't know. I'm still kind of like I'm still thinking about how I feel about Patton Fane. I thought like he's not in my MVP consideration if that's a spoiler.
Yeah, I would unfortunately have to agree with you. But okay, so I think Patton Fane to me after
unfortunately because
Dave's the validation I needed because I know he's higher on him regardless. So I wanted to know if I was like out of line or not.
Hate to talk bad about one of my dark brothers is Dave's.
I hate it, but I will say this episode kind of made me feel like Patton Fane just isn't a fighter. He's just the background guy, like Kyle said, kind of more like a cockroach who's he'll weasel his way into doing things for you, but he's not going to be the one out there front line fighting for you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's just is kind of built to survive, do a little dirty work, a little dagger work.
The Dagobah system, baby.
Okay.
Rocket League.
All right. So that is going to move us into our next bucket, which is essentially mostly Perrin, but then Matt obviously intersects with it. So we did the Matt stuff first. The ending of that little Matt bucket is that now he's just completely on the run, just out into the chaos of the streets of Falm. So we're gonna backtrack a little bit to the start of Perrin and his experience with the maidens, Avienda, Bane, and Chiad in the city of Falm. So they're kind of making their way through the city, and they run into some familiar faces. So not necessarily Matt yet, but they run into Ingtar, Massima, and Loyal.
The line where what are the maidens of the spear is what they're called. They're talking, they're like, yeah, did you really see an Ogier here? He's like, yeah, I knew what I saw. And, of course they run into it. I mean, I don't know if it's timing. I don't know if they had a plan for it or whatever. I wish they showed how they got the horn. Not the biggest deal.
Did you hear the line?
No, I didn't.
They said, we got it with some help from a lady from Kyrian, which is Lady Selene. Which is Lanfear.
Oh, that is wild.
No, I didn't hear that at all. I heard Lady of Kyrian, but for some reason, I literally thought they were talking about Varen for some reason.
My ears don't work so well is why I need the subtitles to be able to read these things.
But yeah, I thought that was a great little detail, which was I agree, because it was like, what the hell are they even talking? Like, we need to get the horn, and then they just have the horn. But I think that was a great use of like limited time, I guess.
Oh, totally fine with that now. The only other thing that I thought was weird about this scene was I was like, wasn't Perrin, I guess, you know what? I think Perrin was taken away before the horn was gifted. And then they saw him open it because they're like, oh, we can't open it. Like, and I was like, well, didn't you watch him open it before? So, them going in with the knife again, whatever. The knife is like, I just wish I knew about that burning through any object beforehand. But,
we got a little bit to go before that.
Okay. Yeah, true.
We got some cool things to talk about before that.
Fucking Ingtar jumping right into battle too. That was fucking awesome.
Loyal has a great line too. Just like they're like all kind of squabbling around, and Ingtar's like, we need the old heroes, and Loyal says we're all the heroes of another age's legend. I think it's time we start acting like it. And I was like, damn, bro. So, I don't think that's a line from the books, but I was like, that feels like a almost like end of series line from Loyal.
What about the current heroes?
Yeah, that was cool.
I was listening to that line, and on my second rewatch, it kind of clicked. I was like, what if Loyal tried explaining that to Moraine about the dragon? Because like Ingtar is like making the case, like, we have what we came for. We don't need anybody else. It's kind of like how Moraine's just always like, oh,
Yeah.
we have the dragon, nothing else really matters. And then Loyal's out here like trying to hype up the rest of the squad, like we're the heroes of today. Let's like save ourselves and the others around us. But I just always think like, what if Moraine had heard that line? Would she just like scoff at the idea of that and just be like,
Yeah. Nothing else matters.
Oh,
yeah.
One of the coolest parts of this episode, as soon as Perrin and I'm sorry, I don't even know if there we are there. Perrin and Matt reunite. All of the mains of the spear put up their like masks.
Yeah, they veil up.
We are the veil. Yeah, and we talked about that. You know, the veil's up, it's too late, and they immediately go in. I was just like, so cool.
It was definitely too
going
late for the
to-
Sean Chen.
I'm going to backtrack you to Ingtar's death because I think this is my least favorite scene in the entire episode. Is because, so he mentions the line, like, one man can hold 50 here. And that's like getting straight from the books, like they're in Falm, all this chaos happening. And the bad part is that, like, they show us him not hold 50 there. He holds like 4 there, which felt like a kind of spitting on him a little bit. But also, drum roll, Ingtar's a dark friend. Like, Ingtar's supposed to be a dark friend. It's supposed to be Ingtar that let them into Faldara at the start. Like, that's why, like, when we meet and when we meet like the aftermath of Padden Fane, that fight, and there's like the dead Shinaran, and Ingtar's like, you know, if you sat down with Padden Fane, like maybe he'd have a reason for like what he did, and like that's because like he is a dark friend.
He's telling Uno not to spit on that body.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dave's like gassing him up, like he's making some good points, and it actually makes sense for Dave's preference of he was speaking dark friend language right there, and Dave was eating it up.
It just was because it's especially in this scene, it's like he reveals it, and it's to Rand technically, but Rand is like, you know, there's no one so deep in the shadow that you can't come back to the light. Like the whole book 2 plot for Ingtar is that like he wants the horn so bad because he wants to redeem himself, because like he saw what happened, or what was the aftermath of him being a dark friend and helping out, and like them killing all the people in Faldara, and he wanted this redemption so hard. Like, the whole book is him like, I need the horn, I need the horn, I need the horn, I need the horn. And then we get there and he does this sacrifice, and Rand doesn't tell anyone that he was a dark friend. He just, you know, he dies.
Noble.
Yeah, and it's just like it was such an it just like I felt so easy that they could have reworked it where it was just kind of him and Perrin like in an alleyway with something like that. It just felt like that was one of my favorite parts of book 2. It's such an amazing moment, and it literally happened in the show, and I was like, that can't be real. Like that didn't just pass us by with him saying one man could hold 50 here, and then he gets killed immediately, and then that was it.
The worst part of that too is they stand there and watch him die. So it's like, you guys run on, all protect you, and they walk 15 feet backwards and then stand there and watch him fight off a few people and then die. It's like, dude, your death basically means nothing at this point. So you know,
that was like when I said at the top, like a softball that they just whiffed on. That felt like it just felt like, why did it not happen?
When I was talking early on, it seems like they're going more for the spectacle than the actual like content. This is kind of what I was talking about too. Like, they wanted the scene of like watching him die and all that other stuff, and it's just like kind of takes away from the actual moment and the action that he was doing. But I mean, this is just show aside, because it seems like he was really making the sacrifice for the horn. Like he wanted that redemption.
And I mean, like, yeah, maybe we talk about it in season 3, but why would we?
This was the easiest, just like, yep, Kyle hates that. I hate that. I'm sure everybody hates that. I was also, even though I like the actor, he's our boy from Da Vinci's Demons.
Yeah.
I wasn't even that into him as a character early at this season. Like, I just felt like they weren't giving him enough, and I wasn't surprised that they took this route, because they did not focus on him enough to the build up, where they couldn't have done it in this. I don't think they could have done it in the finale. It would have just came out of left field. People would have been like, huh, what the fuck is that? So
yeah, cause they gave him the whole conversation and scene about like understanding the perspective of someone else, and it just felt like
definitely just a miss.
You know what
the
saving grace of all this is?
But it's just like, whatever.
You know what the saving grace is for all this? Citric gets more screen time, baby. Let's go. I don't know his name in the show. If you want to,
Messina, right?
Massima.
Oh, so close.
Yeah. Paul with his confidence. Never trusting Paul.
Lack of subtitles, dude. Lack of subtitles is killer.
But yeah, just like the squad moves on easily from Ingtar's death, we can just move on easily from that scene and get back to Matt. Yeah. So they run into Matt. which is great. And a nice little reunion with him and Perrin. Then again, with another issue with the skeleton key dagger. But
Yeah, I fucking wish I knew. Wish
yeah,
I
we're just
knew.
all
Like,
floated here.
Okay. I was like looking out for it because I genuinely thought that Matt was like gonna accidentally touch Perrin with it. And I was like looking out for it. He's like giving him the hug, and I'm like, is he gonna touch him? Is he gonna fucking touch him?
yeah, that's all I could think about. Is like, you are very nonchalant, waving that thing around for like cursing you for months of hangover.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. But
Yeah,
I'm saying
I like the
what Luke said. Him with the staff is so fucking cool. Just twirling that thing around.
Yeah, he's a beast with it for sure. I like that where like now Matt tells Perrin like Rand's alive, and Perrin's like, oh my god, what type of deal? And that was like a good turning point for them. And I just like Matt is always cheeky. He's literally always on. I just like how he's like, who are the light of these people? And Perrin's like, oh, my friends. And it's just like immediately like, well, I hope these motherfuckers can fight because I just brought the whole fucking squad down on us. And that was really good.
He's got shit hair.
Yeah, he's alive, but he's got shit hair.
That was a money line, totally. That was just mad.
It was.
But also Messina watching Ingtar die, like he genuinely seemed sad to watch his leader go down. So him jumping into the battle to fight those other guys, those were just really cool because like he had some anger build up, but he still went and followed the horn and whatnot. All this dark friend talk, I really hope he's not bad because Messina just in his sexual biceps
Are
get
you
me
saying
going.
Messina?
I am, but I know I'm saying it wrong now because
Messima.
Messima.
Yeah, he'll get there.
But
you just
like
learned. You just learned.
Yeah. It's you know how you remember how long it took me to get away from Swan Chan to Sean Chan?
I don't even think you've officially moved.
Yeah,
on.
I don't know if you're out of the woods on that one yet.
Yeah.
We need a few more Sean Chen pronunciations from you to prove that. Jesus.
Yeah, and then just an interesting part of this scene is that Dane Bornhold just kind of shows up here as well, kind of saves Perrin essentially.
Two rivers.
Yeah, we get the classic Two Rivers nickname, which is good. And now looking back, we've already seen it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that was a bit of a budding friendship, but not really coming back from what happens in this next scene. So Matt kind of runs off, and we'll meet back up with Matt again. Just we're gonna do this little bit of a parent scene that everyone wants to talk about the Matt scene. No one wants to talk about this parent scene, obviously, but it's got to be done.
Can we
because
skip
the content? Sorry, but so Perrin, after this kind of interaction, he's kind of forced back into like a marketplace area. He runs into none other than Child Valda himself, which leads to an initially kind of amazing scene and then a terrible scene.
Mm-hmm.
Just a terrible scene.
If I'm Perrin, I'm asking, what's his name, to just throw the axe in me next because Hopper's going down. What do I have to live for now if Hopper's gone? Hopper's death hurt me more than any death that we've gotten so far in this show.
Just like immediate tears welling up in my eye. I was like, oh my god.
The axe comes down. I'm like, there's no fucking way. I refuse to believe this. And like Perrin, there's this like his eyes change, and then Hopper's eyes change. I'm like, oh, there's hope. There's hope. And then we see like literally his life force leaving his body, hopping out of his body. And it's like, come on, man. It hurt, man. This one really hurt me. Animal deaths, I'm never in for. I just think of immediately I Am Legends. Yeah. Another brutal one.
That is all time bad.
That one is definitely all time bad. But I didn't expect Hopper to die, and nor did I expect it to have this much of an emotional impact on me. But I'll never forget you, Hopper.
Yeah. I mean, he was number one on the hit list, was Borny after this incident. So going down number two, number two, Child Valda is just like, I can't wait to fillet you and feed you to my wolf brothers.
I was actually cracking up when Child Valda, like when Hopper comes in and starts biting him, I was like laughing so hard. I was like, fuck this guy.
That's why it was great. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then just immediately that just turns to absolute fucking ashes in your mouth. And it's
I couldn't relish it enough, him getting attacked by Hopper.
But
dude, the fucking scene, sorry, Luke, but where he's just sitting in the pool of blood, like still kind of alive, making eye contact with Perrin. I'm like, who kept this in? Who kept this in and cut some of the other stuff? Like,
all one's heads to roll, baby.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's the same person that did the dagger stuff, so we can just cut them entirely from the show.
One fell swoop.
Get them out of the writing room. But yeah, this leads to like the moment that kind of defines Perrin's early arcs of just he is the gentle giant that has this rage inside of him, and he just lets it go. He runs out of there and just fucks Daddy
Oh my
Bornhold up.
god.
Was it with an axe too? Now that
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Mhm.
Oh
Yeah,
my
he was
God.
reaching for it when Valda's on top of him, which was kind of what we had talked about and like predicted almost, of like when it push came to shove and he was back against the wall type of deal, he was going to pick the axe back up again. So his fucking kill list with an axe is insane. It's his wife and then that guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this gonna double down on his fear of axes, knowing that he's just like whenever he touches one, he just goes into this fit of rage, or is he now kind of over his fear of axes? Paul, you're the big axe theory Perrin guy, so what do you think? Is he still an axe guy, or do you think he's dismissing it after this kill?
No, it's definitely his thing. I was waiting again. I was waiting for him to pick up Borny's axe because they both of them have one and they're gold studded and look filthy. So
He doesn't
waiting
play
for him.
D&D enough. He's not looting enough of those bodies.
yeah, seriously.
Gotta lose.
So I don't know. I loved it. I love seeing the animal come out. I just wish that it came out before people around him like got hurt and died. Like I wish he was like protective before that happened.
Yeah, but when he did that last time, he murdered his wife.
Yeah, well, she was asking for it.
That's like that's like the whole thing. I think they're doing a great job of is showing this like crazy turmoil within Perrin, because like
No,
this
that's a great point.
conversation itself is like making me think that they're accomplishing their goal with him, because
Mhm.
Perrin's not getting a lot of screen time, and that's kind of true to the books at this point. But it seems like they're getting across what they should
Mhm.
be, and I guess that's more of a thing for Kyle because this is Kyle's boy. Like that's the conflict, right?
As he was kind of getting dragged away too, like he didn't even recognize he was still in that like anger fury. So I kind of recognized that if he does let it go, like nobody's safe. He's like the Hulk.
Season 3 is gonna be Perrin's season. Faux show. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Hopper was always going down. I mean, this is
Garbage.
Hopper dies in the books.
Well,
That's why the show's A tier.
It's sad. It's definitely like a big pivotal moment for Perrin's character and his like relationship to like the wolf side of him. So very, very, very unfortunately necessary, very evil. But I mean, rip to the legend. Hopper just really helped guide our boy into the beginning of his journey as a wolf brother. Will never be forgotten.
Fuck
Will
the
he
white
be,
cloaks.
will he be able, will like Hopper be able to live in like that spirit plane that like Perrin can see? Like you know how there's
Well, he's like seeing
wondering, like,
he's like seeing those visions, quote
Yeah,
unquote,
if
which are
people are sending
messages
out
like sent by living wolves. So
were they living wolves? I was just wondering, like maybe if he's sending out these like ethereal messages, maybe Hopper would be his representation of the messages that are being sent. But if they were like real wolves, then
that's not a terrible way to think, though.
I thought that was just Hopper saying like, "Hey, like I'm jumping up towards
to happen.
the heavens."
That was them like
Pretty much.
talking, basically. Yeah.
Come on, bro. This is reincarnation's wheel of time. Is there a heaven? Who knows?
Yeah, true.
Who can say?
Waiting for the wheel to reset. They're in the respawn room.
Yeah, Hopper
True.
Hopper
They're
goes
in the
back into the
plane.
wheel.
They're in the battle bus. They're
Just
waiting.
waiting to be spun out again. Yeah, Hopper's in the battle bus. Okay. So speaking of the battle bus, people who have been waiting in the battle bus, we get Matt now. So we're back with Matt after our unfortunate detour. He is ascending the city walls. He's got the horn in tow, and he is now confronted with a large Shan-Chan force and a decision, which the fate of the world possibly sits upon. And
I was like, blow that shit.
He makes the damn decision.
Dude,
I
I swear to God, I just got chills right now. Like I fucking loved it. I can tell by the way you prefaced this earlier, Kyle, you might not love this scene, but I don't give a fuck. Like I thought this was perfection. Like everything that was going on, and it's so because of the weight I know from the books and what this actually means,
Mhm.
but I don't care. Like the slow motion of just seeing everybody,
Yeah.
the way this happens, the way it sounded. Matt was like reluctant to do it. I just thought it all came together perfectly, and how it plays out with showing the heroes that come back. I don't think they could have done it better for TV. Like
I agree with that for
specifically
sure.
and I was just so fucking happy that this scene didn't miss for me. I could talk about it forever. I have so many notes, but you guys, Rooks, what was this for you?
I was definitely hyped, especially for Matt. I'm like, all right, this is Matt's moment. Like he's been in the mud for 16 episodes now, 15 and a half episodes. Time for him to shine. So him getting that moment, Still some questions, and I'm not even gonna ask you guys. I'm just gonna kind of wait for season 3, see if they talk about it. As soon as he blows it, he says he remembers, and I'm like, does that mean he's always been a protector of the horn? Is like the other like ghosts around him, was that including other turns of the wheel of him and other stuff?
He does have he as being like that, like kingly, like big kind of knight that's next to him says that I have fought by your side times beyond number. Fight with us once more.
Okay.
So the thing with the horn, it's easier in the books because like exposition is not necessarily almost like exposition in the books. It's just the words you're reading on the page type of deal. But yeah, I mean the horn is like each time the wheel turns, like you can add people for sure to like this grouping of people. And there's also people like once you're in, like each time you get spun out after that, like your initial, like you're always that guy, quote unquote. Like you live a life like that is like worthy of a hero, and then you die, and then you go back, and then you're chilling, and then the wheel spits you back out again. And then if the horn calls you, however often that happens, which clearly is not often, then you get sent out type of deal. So you can totally be I mean, we see Uno. Uno was a live, real person. He was clearly not like a spirit or anything. He dies, and then he was recognized, it seems like, by the horn, which is a conversation kind of in itself. But I think for the TV and like the idea of like showing us that, I think it worked well in that sense, where like you can just kind of live your life now and get added in. The one I would say issue, I don't have an issue with most of the scene. The one issue I have is them. It just feels weird to me as a book reader, them insinuating that Matt is a hero of the horn.
Yeah, I think for me, I took it kind of like this goes, I guess, into the conversation we were just having about like reincarnation. Like I took it that like, Matt, maybe not Matt himself, but his past lives, however you want to view it, talk about it, I felt like all those past lives, maybe a few of them were good fighters, and like he's kind of saying like, oh, I remember like how to fight, I remember using the horn, I remember like all of that stuff. And that's kind of how I took it. Like it was just him remembering all those past lives, and it kind of makes sense that the guard next to him would be like, we fought in the past before. I just don't know if that person in the past, was Matt, because we've talked about how Ishii has talked about spins of the wheel, and Ishii is still always Ishii. Like he's not someone else. So for me, it's just kind of more so deciphering like, was Matt in another spin of the wheel, or was he, someone else entirely at another spin of the wheel?
I think you have a good grasp of it. And also, like you're saying, like when he says, I remember now, and then instantly like says it starts speaking a different language as they the battle cry that he says in like the old tongue was like, that was fucking awesome. We're gonna explore
that literally made me tear up.
Yeah, that was so fucking sick. I need to see what it says in subtitles.
I know what
just
it said.
how well I mean I want to see the old tongue written out is what I'm saying.
Okay, fair.
Not like I don't think it would translate it. I would hope it doesn't.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like translated would be kind of cool. I have it translated, but I guess I won't ruin it.
Oh geez, I guess it could. Wow, that's such a whack thing with the screeners that I didn't even think about.
It would probably show the actual words.
No, I think it'll just say old tongue, because there's gonna.
I'm only thinking because of Ishii's conversation at the beginning, it was an old tongue. Like they actually wanted us to understand that conversation.
Right, that's different. That's completely different.
They show subtitles when they want us to, not including like the actual subtitles on, like the hand language between the maiden and the spears. They show us it, so they wanted us to know it. But regardless, just weird to see Matt so happy and confident and like ready to charge. It was I loved it. And I don't know about the whole like him being a hero of the horn, because the way they got into the conversation about how Ishii and Luce used to be best friends and how Matt was born mine. Like Ishii said that earlier. Like I'm basically thinking like, all right, is Matt basically Ishii just churned out again? Like it's weird because Ishii's still alive and never died. So how can he be reincarnated? But like the best friend of the dragon, the dark side is tempting him. So I don't know if it's going to go to somebody else, but I always had in my head that Matt might eventually go to the dark side. So to see that he was a hero of the horn, I genuinely thought like, all right, are these like the dark heroes? but
I don't think
obviously
that's
not.
what the point was. I don't think he is a hero of the horn. I don't think they were trying to convey that either. Why are we
Well,
saying that?
because
mean,
the one dude was like, I fought by your side countless times.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's like, am I fighting you? Am I fighting against you? Like, I don't
but why
see the
couldn't it
only other
just
way.
be another spin of a Taviran that's like so important that just pops out every once in a while? Which I
We don't
guess,
even know what Tavirans are. Like, we
yeah, I
know the
guess that's
term,
true.
but
But also, like is the dragon considered a hero? I don't know. I don't think that part was like confusing. I don't
I
know.
feel like even if he is like, I think Rand kind of, we're jumping the gun here, but at the end, Rand kind of says, like, in every spin of the wheel, I have rejected you, like the dark side. And so what you're saying, Paul, I feel like anyone besides potentially Rand is just like susceptible. Like, even if he was a hero of the horn in a past life, like that doesn't protect him. That doesn't give him autoimmunity from the dark. Like, he's still able to be swayed. Like, Rand is the only one to me that it seems like will never choose the dark side. But
Yeah.
anyway, I I am very, very interested to see how they talk about it going forward in season 3 and see if Matt even talks about it. But regardless of all the what does this mean, the actual scene itself, I mean, fucking awesome. The
Yeah.
way that the ghosts were able to like have that after image of them moving and swinging and like being slow time. Even Matt swinging that bad boy staff
Oh, yeah.
around. I mean, I
he
was like,
charges, bro. Oh,
Yeah.
let's go, dude. I'm
When
gonna watch that scene again.
Matt
right
or
after this.
live action Nami in a fight.
Matt.
Honestly,
I mean, he's got an auto kill weapon.
You know what? Him swinging that staff around reminded me of was a Kama got kill, like her blade. Like you can't
Oh,
even
yeah,
nicked
yeah.
by it, otherwise you're fucked. That's
Yeah.
all I could think about.
It
I
is.
love that, like, the heroes of the, or who, like the spirits of the horn that get summoned can like interact
Heroes
with
was
people.
right.
Okay, I love that they can interact with people, because I love the line that Uno goes up to Perrin and he's like, "Of course I'd be a hero of the horn. Like, why are you so surprised?" Like, I just love the cockiness that
Begging.
that Uno brings here. At,
That
like,
was him cursing. Also, him giving the shield. Don't understand that.
he knew.
I don't.
He fucking
Yeah, I'm
knew.
not sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know either. But
I mean, I guess I'm also confused of what do you mean by you don't understand? Like, why would he give it to him?
No. So like, is like that physical manifestation of that shield that like Uno
that's
brought
fair.
in when he got summoned, and like when
That
he
is
gets
fair.
summoned away, like does a shield go as well? Like I don't really get it.
Is a legitimate question that now I agree with.
I'm kind of like picturing like the wild hunt in The Witcher, because that was something that, like, we never knew if the wild hunt was like real or were they like spirits. It's kind of like the same thing. Like, if I were to take the wild hunt's sword and they were to disappear, would I still have the sword? But I guess they kind of shut that down in The Witcher. I'm pulling out a random ass Witcher comparison here, but
You're good.
just that's kind of where my head was going.
You're chilling. Yeah, I think last comment, because I just know that there's going to be a raging discussion on the internet about like the insinuation maybe that Matt is a hero of the horn type of deal. I'm interested to see how other people take it. I'm not totally in love with it. I read up online of like people talking about it when like the books were coming out, in like 2000, like threads from 2005, 2007, 2016. I could see maybe both sides of it. Maybe not the execution of that individually was something I was in love with, but I thought Donald was legitimately amazing in this scene. I think this was like almost like the best Matt like acting that there was. I thought he was just fucking fantastic. I'm just so excited that like Matt's like solidified as an actor now. Like I feel like we were like, oh, how's it gonna go type of deal. And throughout this season, I feel like it's just like Donald's awesome and Matt's just like a great character. So like I'm happy that this is like where we're at with his character.
I guess my final question is, like, are you coming at this as a book reader? Because
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, what's the issue? Even if he is considered a hero, it's just because of the.
It just feels like it's very not Matt. Feels like it goes like against his character.
Say Matt's spirit never got turned out in this wheel, and someone else blew the horn. Are you saying that they don't think, like, would his spirit have shown up here too? Or is like that the question?
I think there's no way.
Okay, so you're saying that there shouldn't be no way, but they insinuated that he would have been.
I just feel like it's like a thing. Like he's not a hero of the horn. Like he doesn't need to be a hero of the horn. He's just kind of like his own thing type. Like in the books where like Nynaeve and Egwene aren't Taviran.
Yeah.
and like it was fine. They are their own thing that isn't to veer in, which in a sense makes them even better type of deal, where like they don't even have that like special quote unquote ability type of deal, and they're still kicking ass and taking names and like making like a huge name and impact for themselves. It just felt like, for me, when I first watched it, I was just kind of like, don't love that type of deal.
Okay.
And reading up on it, I could see both sides of it, but I feel like, again, I'm at this thing, and not to like completely ruin a lot of his character, but like big thing for him, and they talk about it, I think here, or they more obviously imply it, insinuated type of deal of like his whole thing is like, I'm not a hero.
Right, but why is
I
him
think-
in past lives having a fault with some of these heroes an issue?
I
Well,
will
that's what I
say
guess I'm okay with like them maybe recognizing his soul and it not being like hero of the horn, but I think it like the
That's
way they
how
were
I took it.
Yeah, I feel
Okay.
like the way it was insinuated was more like he is a hero of the horn. I feel like
Why
that
is-
was like the easy way to take it.
why it is an issue with me right now, unless Ishii was lying. When Ishii gives him the tea to see the past lives, he doesn't see any of that. He
Well, he didn't
again
see anything. That was a shitty scene. And I
Well,
said that when
okay.
it happened.
Yeah, I know. And
I also
we
think,
talked
I mean,
about
again,
how that
Shamiel is
tea,
the father of lies.
yeah, that tea was like a whole big fucking lie or
Yeah.
a whole like shenanigan in the last place. So if that's a thing, then that's totally fine. But I mean, I was waiting to see like past iterations of him and if that's what they saw. But I don't know, because those visions obviously mean different things, because we saw mins of Matt stabbing Rand just to jump forward, and it didn't happen exactly like we saw it. So that kind of leans into the, talent and the vision being not exactly what you see. But regardless, that T, I'm taking it unless they say that he's just a father of lies. I don't know if we're gonna get a fucking explanation though. Spoiler, because he might be gone.
My last thought on this whole thing is just that going to be, I think maybe where the confusion might be is, again, I might be misinterpreting all this, but like from a show viewer perspective, like when we say hero of the horn, like I get that the people that spawn behind Matt are heroes of the horn, but like when I'm also hearing hero of the horn, I consider like the blower of the horn also a hero. Like maybe in the past life, like Matt's alternate or whoever self in one of the spins blew the horn also, and that's kind of what they were referring to, is like you again, like you blew the horn in a past life, like you aren't necessarily one of us as a hero, you are just like the blower of the horn.
And that's
And
valid.
yeah, and I think whoever blows the horn would also be considered a hero because they're blowing it at a time that needs to be blown, pretty much. So that's kind of how
I just think the issue is
yeah, that's all I wanted to
we're
say.
reading too much into it because
Yeah.
there's nothing that's been said that really contradicts until we get more information. But
Agreed.
Yeah.
let's leave it for now and see, because this is going to be a bigger conversation. If we haven't said it already, Kyle and myself, and then Jimmy, another Bingetown member, we're going to have a book spoiler conversation. And this is going to be a huge topic. So if you're aware of the books and like you've read and you don't care about spoilers, whatever, that's going to be out in the next 2 weeks or so. We're going to kind of, after rewatching and digesting this, have these type of detailed conversations without the rooks. So
Yeah, James has got to catch up. I don't even think he's even seen a single episode yet.
insane.
All right. Moving into what will technically be our final bucket, as it will just kind of lead us into, and look at me, like completely thinking about the fact that we haven't talked about Moraine and Lan at all.
Remember when I tried to bring this up earlier and I got shit on?
And well, then I was like, I remember I made that mistake in my notes.
Mhm.
Where
So
in
we're
the
just going to do that
freaking-
then now, and then we'll get into the meat, I guess the veggies, as like Kyle likes to call it, of the episode.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking now at my notes, and I think I just like accidentally deleted them.
I mean, I can take us through this just because
Yeah,
this
that
is
works.
right directly after Lanfear kicks him out through the ways,
Mhm.
and then it's just a Lan and Moraine moment. They have like 2 or 3 different scenes spread out throughout the episode, and we'll take the first 2 because I'm sure the third one will be the final like convergence part of this. But they get pretty damn philosophical about their bond. And for me, this was an amazing scene because this is the first visualization you get of the bond and them reconnecting. I thought it looked really fucking cool. I don't know about you guys because it was like just like the CGI looked good, how they were getting like super intimate. This is what you need to think about when you're thinking about the Warrior Eyes to Die bond, because they're in each other's heads. So of course it would have to be something like this crazy. But that's the first scene, and I'm gonna lump in the second part of it too, when they talk about why Lanfear is the only one awake, and Moraine says, I think she goes on to say that the other 2 were the others were too dangerous. Why am I might be mixing that
No,
up.
I think they just. Are you talking about the fact that she kind of just ends up bringing up their relationship with Luz and Ashamio?
Yeah, because that's my notes are a little bit weird, but that's what she ends up saying. She's like the three, like they were best friends in the last turning of the wheel, and then Land goes on to say just like these kids are now. But that's like the whole philosophical conversation, the bond, and then a little bit about the land fear thing. So
Mhm.
whatever you guys have written down about that.
The bond was interesting because, like you're saying, the visualization of it was cool. I love the whole intimate aspect of it too. All like the different facial expressions, because I'm sure there's a bunch of different emotions going on. And it's the bond has been closed off for a long time. It's kind of like, you're not gonna just completely rip open the dam. Like, you're gonna slowly open it and like let the it trickle in. It's not going to be one big rush. So that was kind of cool. The only thing I had questions was, we've seen them close the bond before when they're very far apart. Last season 1 when Moraine goes to see the Amerlin seat. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, all right, if she closes the bond, is there going to be a long invisible weave going to land to like do that? That's the only thing. When they visualize it, it's like, all right, you got to visualize it every time then. So I liked it though. I thought the whole conversation, I was like, yes, just like get back to square one, get back to baseline. Yeah. Like, this is amazing. And I just want a little pat on the back. I think, Dave, we were thinking about it too. Moraine says, the only reason I said that we're not equal is because I always viewed you as my better. And I was like, knew it. Let's go. Land's the best.
So predictable.
Yeah, it was an easy guess, but
whoa. Don't make me feel bad. I called one, man. Let's go. We all got it.
You have
Put one on the board for all of us.
You have a big win coming later.
Yeah, we'll give you that. We've given you credit. You're definitely, you nail a lot of these, Paul. But yeah, I very much like the CGI here going on. Just a very sensual experience, it felt like. And I was kind of thinking a little bit that it's interesting seeing this, like the bond being brought up here and like going through it, because then like I think at the same time they're also counteracting it with like the Domine and Suldam kind of relationship, and like you kind of see how like the Suldam rely on the Damane about like the way they basically are channeling through their power. It was very similar in how like the weaves kind of interact with one another. It was cool seeing how this was more sensual, whereas when the Suldam are using the Domine, it's just very aggressive and just more of a one-sided relationship. So very, very cool moment here. Again, the CGI has been absolutely on point this season. It's so good.
In the end, it gets even better.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I just like how Lan, he just knows her so well. He doesn't even need to feel her emotions, really, to feel her emotions. Like he's not physically feeling them, but he knows exactly what's going on inside of her. Mm-hmm. I just love that, like, they're keeping that relationship even though he's not really feeling the emotions. That just like is such a good, perfect, like a representation of what they've been through, I guess you could say, throughout their entire lives, fighting the shadow.
Many MVPs in this episode. It's like I definitely kind of want to go last, but I also want to go first. But like it's just there's too many because this transitions us like they get a little bit closer to the tower. Moraine kind of realizes that what Lanfear did. She's like, okay, she notices all the ships in the distance, and then we get Lan just being a fucking boss, man. I fucking love this because all the Shan Chen are chasing after them. And Moraine knows the deal. She knows that she's going to have to bury the ship. She feels the shielding. I guess do we want to get into this right now?
Yeah, let's just take it anyway.
We'll get into it later, obviously, but she feels a shielding going on from the boats, and she recognizes that what she has to do is destroy the boats. At the same time, the Shan Chen kind of arrive behind them, and Lan does what he does best and fucking kicks ass. He is the man. Lan the man, not Matt the man. That's for sure.
That's right after the coldest line in the episode, arguably, when Rain says, I would literally let 1,000 innocents die if it just meant the chance that Rand will live.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, let's fucking go.
That's I love when she talks about like that. Like, I love when she just is showing us that she is just so dedicated to the cause of protecting Rand. It's so fucked up, but at the same time, it's just like
the best quality about her.
It just makes sense. Like if you know that this person is going to save the entire world, like universe, of course you're going to do anything to protect him, even if it means sacrificing 1,000 lives. And it's cool here too, because we do see like Moraine does obviously go through with destroying the ships, but we do kind of get a shot of her afterwards after doing it. She does look very depressed, and I think she knows what she's doing is like wrong. And I feel like she maybe even recognizes that there might have been even some sisters of hers, like some Aes Sedai, that could have been on the ship, but she knows that what she's doing is for Rand. So I like that one, she does emphasize that she like has to do what she has to do for Rand, but at the same time we do see that side of her that is like, shit, like I do actually feel bad about all this at the same time.
Paul, they did a good job of showing her using the fire magic for the first time. Like they were showing the strands being fire. And that's the first time Moraine's ever used that color.
Yeah, that was awesome. And just to go into the not all the way in, but her line of like, oh, and fire will run across the sky. I thought that was her, like, and that was the signal. Like her destroying the ships was the fire across the sky, giving the signal. And I was like, oh, that was cool. Like it was unintentional. You didn't realize that you were the signal right there. But we get into that in about a second. But just to go back, one, why were the Seanchan running from that side of the beach and not the other direction? Just didn't understand it. Two, Lan, so badass, and him fucking grabbing that arrow. He was like, "Nuh-uh, so many goddamn arrows was taking out so many Aes Sedai. Not this one. I'm protecting her." And
that was a book nod because they already killed the one earlier.
Yeah. And then I had
that was
a third
just
one.
that was so funny when this like random squad of Seanchan are just there. I tried not to let it like dampen my enjoyment of the moment, but it was just like, what the hell are these guys doing here? All right. So, Paul, do you remember the third one or no?
I'm trying so hard. I don't think I will.
We'll go. So this is like the beginning. We'll go back to the beginning of Rand and Egwene, and then we'll get through that, and then maybe as we're getting towards the end, it'll pop back up for you.
We haven't talked about Rand at all.
Yeah, well, we're getting there. So he'll be the initial scene here because Egwene's kind of maybe run more parallel to each other. But so Rand kind of arrives in Falme. He does get a quick glance at Egwene, but he's got bigger plans, which brings him to Turok, High Lord Turok, and his little personal guard. And this scene was unexpected yet fucking awesome. This was fucking insane.
Don't give a fuck how different it was from the books. I just thought this Anakin Skywalker moment that he has when he's like fucking with the hood up and he just destroys everybody. Me, Aoki, and Dave were just like, that was just fucking wild and so cool. And Aoki even said that's like the strongest display of power he had all series, which is both a positive and a negative because it should have been Tarman's Gap last season, but it was also still, this is the fucking Dragon Reborn. Of course, he could just murder 25 people like a Forsaken could. So that was just an isolated, just badass scene.
I loved it. I was like so ready for him just to finally get a display of power, like you guys were talking about. The Heron Mark blade, the line. Let's see what it takes to,
I knew you were going to bring this up.
To earn a Heron Mark on this side of the ocean or something like that?
This side of the ocean. See if it we're way tougher over there on the west, right? Yeah.
West, actually.
They're west. Seanchan is west. This is
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, him doing the whole dance, pulling out the blade, and then Rand just killing everybody. I was like, this is just Indiana Jones, like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Or like he just pulls out the gun and shoots him after that big display. So also I was like, nails totally gonna be in the way of some of the swings, but whatever.
Yeah, so surprised to see that Turok was able to own a Heron Mark blade with those fucking fingernails. Like, I agree, Paul. I feel like that would just get in the way of so much.
But
it would have been cool to see them fight because they do in the books.
Again,
they battle.
I figured they did, and maybe they didn't have time because I was thinking that he was going to go in there and swing the blade once because I'm talking about all these moves, but maybe they're saving it. But I just love again, when he used his power, it seemed like dark red or it seemed like fire-ish. So he's just burning with passion.
That was lit.
Yeah, the part in the books is interesting because they literally have a sword battle, and Turok like has earned that Heron Mark blade, and Rand is book 2 Rand, and he's had like some training from Lan basically. But it is a thing. It's like how could he possibly win besides the classic buff of like he's the destined one type of deal? Because he has like an internal monologue of like, oh shit, this guy's fucking good, and then like eventually he ends up winning. And I think this actually visually obviously looks like way better than anything they could have done with the sword fight. I mean, this was fucking cool as shit. The little dance routine too, just to get your ass kicked, was funny.
Yeah, I was telling Luke, like I feel like I would have definitely liked a sword fight here and then finish off with maybe the one power, because again, Rand had been hinting at his, skills that he's been acquired, and we haven't really seen them on display. Like him and Lan have that discussion about the sword forms and everything. And Rand obviously is aware of all these. We just haven't seen him use it. So I can't wait to actually see him use the Harry Mark blade for once. It still hasn't really swung it.
I mean, it's kind of gone now.
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, it's not really there anymore.
I was waiting for CCTC, man. But even talked about it. Cat crosses the courtyard for the ones not up to speed.
Okay, well, we did talk about it last episode. I guess he didn't have to use it. Maybe you could argue he used it at the scene, but we'll get to that scene. Okay, so we're gonna, I guess, technically backtrack slightly. So the beginning of Egwene storyline is obviously the city is under attack. They need the Damane, and Rena is preparing her for the defensive farm, her first battle, basically. And again, Egwene, just this level of defiance. We learned some new things even here about what the rules are about disobeying. She gets her braid cut off, and then we're at the tower type of deal. I think we can literally take everything we want up until like they get knocked out and like the real confrontation between the two of them.
I'm going to be honest. I love the haircut. I think she looks so good with it. I love it. Not that the braid wasn't like doing it for me, but it just reminds me of like Sakura from Naruto when she like is being grabbed by the hair and she cuts it. I mean, yeah, gross character compared to Egwene, who's been hot on the rise here for me.
I just meant the short hair. I'm a hater.
I think Egwene looks so good with this look. It was doing it for me.
There was like 2 times this episode where I got genuinely startled and like shook. One was Hopper, rip, and 2 was her getting her ponytail cut off, and it was like her braid cut off, I should say, and it was almost because it was so sudden and I wasn't expecting it, and then the implication and how much that meant as well. I was like, oh my god, that like really fucked with her a little bit. So again, I don't know, like the whole defiance aspect. I was kind of expecting Egwene to be a little bit more like listening and just what's the word I'm looking for? Fucking
acquiesce.
Sure, to her.
That's what you were thinking of,
right?
Subservient, yeah, I guess. So I don't know. I mean, Egwene's awesome, but also going up to the other ones and all their hesitations, I'm like, yo, your Suldam is probably so embarrassed right now because everybody else is seeing you just act out.
Everyone's like, dude, check out Rena's Damane, dude, what a loser. Yeah, the disrespect that she steps on the braid too.
Are we taking all of this? You said all the way up until she basically kills her.
Yeah, up until like the rock comes and like they kind of wake up together for their face off.
So my biggest comment here is she learns a lot from the catapults, like destroying the area and seeing Megan dies and the collar comes off. Like that's a huge point of it. But I wanted to bring this up because for Megan to have like the actor to have come back for 2 scenes, I think is like awesome. And it's like clout on the show. Like somebody came in, she was in 2 scenes in season 1. She comes back to do 2 seasons in this season. Same thing with the actor for Luce Theron. I think that's just like that says a lot about the quality of the show, and like they're willing to get
too.
Yeah, they're willing to get actors just for like 1 or 2 scenes because that's like more true to the books. Like you'll see somebody in book 3, you won't see him again until book 7. That was always one of the biggest worries about adapting the Wheel of Time. But the fact that they can do these type of things and it works, like that was a powerful moment for us to see Megan, the one that she bonded with, like in the cell over to her left, whatever. All of this just to say, like, I like what they're doing, and it makes me more confident going forward that they'll be able to do this and like be more true to the books, that we'll have actors like Logain, like maybe we don't see him for 2 seasons and he does come back for season 4, but he's not in season 3. I hope they do things like that because it just makes it more powerful. Like these characters aren't always at the center of conflict. They're sometimes doing other things. But yeah,
makes the world feel like alive and big.
Exactly.
I love the one line that they had really early on when Egwene first got captured, and Rena said, like, "You're gonna die with this necklace on," and that's kind of was the visualization. As soon as you die, the necklace just pops off. So just kind of came full circle.
Yeah, I mean, we can even go into this whole face-off. I mean,
Oh,
I guess
this was great, dude.
Yeah,
Me and Dave were rooting for it. It was so good.
yeah, I mean, the two big things happen. One is something that we learn, the knowledge that Paul's been poking around, and the second one is we get the conclusion, let's say, to someone's life that we may have low key, maybe high key, been rooting for. So I'm sure we want to talk about that second one probably more than the first one.
Take your credit, Paul.
Yeah.
Let's
the first one first.
Yeah, first one first. Get it out of the way.
Fucking hypocrites. They were touching the one power of the source.
You were asking like episode 3. I was like, well, like how can they? And they do the things, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to
Yeah, like
dodge.
I hope. Yeah, it's like all gonna depend on the way he words the question if he asks us.
And
Yeah.
besides the killing, the most badass part was Egwene saying, like, yeah, you guys are just too weak in the one power to even get this collar. And then they play chicken. She wins. I was so hyped, man. Egwene just fucking slayed.
That was awesome. That was definitely really hype. I just, again, I don't really get it though, because was the rule was that you can't touch anything that you would use or would think of as a weapon.
As a weapon, yeah. To me, like if you're gonna say like how was she able to do it, to me, I just feel like in her mind, applying a collar to someone isn't like that's not a weapon.
Like physically hurting them.
Yeah, like you could just view it as like I'm dressing this person. Like if she's in her mind training herself over and over to just kind of think like, okay, like I'm not trying to hurt her. I'm just trying to put this on her.
But like that's like the whole mug
thing.
But
she didn't know. She didn't know it was gonna hurt her. She like took a chance. Like she kind of says that there a little bit. Like she took a chance.
No, she like I don't know. She knew, and her intent was to make her suffer and imprison her. So I don't know. I just didn't get it because it's like somebody else came on. Like if Nynaeve came on, put that necklace on her, and then Egwene put on the wrist gauntlet. Like you can do that too. Like you don't have to be the one to put the necklace on, do you?
I just think if she were to take that collar and try and slap her in the face with it, she would have gotten hurt.
Yeah,
but she just like.
Yeah, I think she was just
It's
trying to place it. She was moving it from one thing to another, basically. Like,
but
I don't know.
It's quite an outlier situation where like a Damane would then collar her own soul dom, because like deal. So I think I understand like the level of confusion for sure.
The whole thing was the intent was the behind it. Like you can't like you can hold a pitcher of water, but if you intend to pick that up and throw it at somebody.
Yeah,
like
her intention was to just put it on her. It wasn't her intention. Wasn't like.
Yeah, and I mean maybe
her intention
she's
was
like
to
trained her mind.
I mean,
much.
yeah. I mean,
I didn't have
that was the only
with
thing.
it.
But I guess it's not technically hurting her. So if you just throw it on, but then she does hurt her afterwards.
I just think it was a guess. Like it was a
Well, it's
guess,
also,
and
I
then it
think, like-
confirmed everything when she put it on her.
I think
Like,
it's
that's how
interesting
I
because she hurts her afterwards, but also like she is a soul dom at that point. She's both a soul dom and a Damane.
She was getting hurt.
It almost feels like
happening.
it cancels out like it's stopping her from doing it, but she still feels the sensation of doing it. That's the way I took it.
But that again, that just goes back to like you can't have the initial thought to hurt your Suldam, because if you have that initial thought, you get shut down. So it's almost like, how do you have that thought and then act on it before getting shut down? I don't know. I was looking at this whole thing very like I don't know the
I would be
logistics
interested
of it, but
yeah, I'd be interested to see if they come out with like an explanation. Like I'm sure that'll get asked
this
probably like a
situation
Q&A or something.
will
But
not come
it's just
up
like
again.
yeah, it's like such an outlier thing.
I think she just trained herself. I mean, like she literally looks her in the eyes and says, "I'm going to kill you." Like, how would that like intent in her head when she says, "I'm going to kill you" in the last episode? Like, I'm sure she was thinking about actually killing her. Like, why was she not hurt then? Like, I think she's just trained herself to be just that good. Like, I don't think her intent. Again, I just think her intent was to just put the collar on. She didn't know what was going to happen, but once she found out it worked, she was like, "Okay, now I have all the intent to want to hurt you."
And
That's how
it hurt her back.
Yeah,
which
and,
was
like-
the point that it was.
And again, maybe
chicken.
double negative just
Yeah.
like cancels out. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I fucking loved the ruthlessness of Egwene here killing Rena, because I did not want any mercy. Like she's begging for her life. I did not want Egwene saving her at all. Like there was a split second where I thought she was going to
Me
do it,
too.
and as her eyes closed, I'm like, get her out of here.
Yeah.
Get her
Dude,
out.
she
So
literally
dumb.
watched the life go out of her eyes.
Yes,
So-
I loved it. It was so badass.
Yeah.
I actually thought and low key wanted her to save Rena. Is that terrible of me?
Wow.
Am I like
So
the
she could
only
torture her
one?
more? Is that why?
No, honestly,
No, well,
It
because
doesn't make you awful at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was the
does
only
make you
reason.
awful,
That's the
yeah.
only reason why.
Paul,
yeah.
put this collar on for a second.
no, just because
Roll
like
one.
I'm thinking like she is being told something her whole life. Like it's almost you almost feel bad in a sense because she doesn't know any better. She's literally just that naive. But
You're
at the
right.
same time,
Joffrey
she's
didn't know any better, bro.
she's causing. Well, yeah, he did. He just didn't give a fuck.
No, his whole
But
life he's pampered. I don't know.
he's just shooting those fucking crossbows into those prostitutes. But no, I
Jane Chatwin, actually.
Yeah, he didn't know, dude. He didn't know.
yeah, I thought there was gonna be like a oh my god, you're right. I'm a piece of shit and I'm gonna repent kind of stage from Rena, but nah. Egwene was like, no
Yeah.
mercy for you. So
I think an interesting thought to take away from this too is that like the two people beyond obviously Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine that know that this is a thing are both dead now. Like the nameless Sultan that Nynaeve basically gets killed, and then Rena. So like we know it's a thing now, but like the Shanshan culture still has no idea. So
Right.
that's kind of like now we know it's a ticking time bomb, which I think is just like an interesting thing that's just you can even say happening in the background as we move forward. And Luke, you mentioned the chess piece. I like the chess piece like falling off as a signifier.
Mhm.
But the one thing I thought of was just like a Vivre card burning out.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like literally the same thing. That was the first thought I had. I was like, oh, that'll be our One Piece fucking line for the
We already
for the
brought
episode.
up Nami versus Matt.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. All right. And as Egwene is, the end of basically this enslavement journey that she's at, the emotional release she must be feeling is insane. And then another emotional fucking rock gets dropped on her, and that her ex-lover, essentially, potentially even current lover, Rand al'Thor, is alive, and he is right next to her, behind her, on top of the tower. And I like how he kind of says, like, I came here to save you, but like obviously, that didn't need to happen because you're a freaking beast, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like it would have been real cool if you showed up about 45 seconds earlier. You would have saved her a lot of suffering, but
Yeah, for sure.
Still, like just her reaction. I was waiting for something, but she was like, I guess, just so exhausted that she couldn't muster up a reaction.
And you know what? Let's take Shamil obviously arrives here. That's a very unceremonious way to say that, but we'll take it all the way until Matt arrives. There's just like a lot of interesting lines in conversation that Rand and Ashamio have here. He kind of flicks Egwene away and it's like, I don't need you. Like, let me talk to my boy Luz.
He flicks Rand too, doesn't he?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when
Which
he gets
awesome.
shielded
Yeah.
right away. So he flicks Rand, and then he shoots that fireball up in the air. And I was like, "What is that? Is he like prepping for something?" But that was the signal
Yeah.
to the ones out in the ship. Yeah, shield this guy. Which I was like, "How the fuck do you even have that? Do you see him? Like, does the angles make sense that you're looking up from the ocean and you're looking at
That
the tower
little
to
bit
see
of
him?"
that little bit of the wall broke. And he does say, like, get in a position where you have like a view of the tower.
The
So
range
okay with
was
it.
just something I was, like you said, but I was shocked by the range of this.
I'm
stuff. I don't know why I
also
just kind of
very
assumed.
interested in that.
Yeah, I don't know why I just kind of assumed like it had to be like a 5 meters, like D&D kind of thing. Like it's an 18
Yeah.
meters.
Same thing
you
with
know?
Moraine's thing. That was like, to me, I was like, damn, she's getting some
Yeah,
distance on those.
I guess
weaves.
I'm just wondering like how far, like if they were to just shoot a fireball in the distance, like would it just go till?
It's however strong you are.
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
that makes
my
sense.
take. I don't remember ever like a level of restriction on it. So
Because Marine's one of the stronger Aes Sedai, for
Yeah.
sure.
I-
But one thing I wanted to bring up about this that I really liked was Ishii starts like talking about Rand, like pushing his friends to the dark. And this was a turn I didn't expect the conversation to go in, but he ends up saying, like he did to him, talking about Luz Theron in the past turning in the Age of Legends. And Lanfear is kind of what's implied, right? I don't think he name drops it, but we got that earlier when Lanfear was pillow talking with Rand, basically like around that time period when she said like she got pushed to the dark side because of his rejection. So it's always like it's the dragon's actions that are pushing the people close to him to the dark, and that's what he's hinting at. And I just thought that was a good conversation because
Yeah.
it really it shows
That's a very interesting perspective.
That's what I gotta say. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
I like to just seeing, like, even though, like, Rand standing up here, I thought was really badass because we see what shielding can do to a person, how that can impact you. And it just felt like, it was kind of like if Luffy were to be submerged in salt water and still somehow manage to stand up. Like it was just really cool. Like the struggle, like he does a really good job of facial acting, the whole idea of him being like kind of chained down almost and slowly arising and facing Ishii head on. I just thought that was really badass of Rand. And
I think that
him again, just telling him that Ishii to his face that he's never served him in any of the past lives is just so cool. And he knows, and he's like, I know it, and I'll never do it either. I just thought that was so badass. Like Rand stock was already high, but definitely went higher here.
I think for me, the top line delivery is definitely Matt in the old tongue before they charged. That was like awesome to me. But I think the second one is Rand like kind of fighting through the shield almost when he says like I'm not loose Theron, and just like the fucking you could feel like the struggle in him and like how much he means it and like almost the passion and emotion in it. And I was like, God, this guy's fucking awesome.
He's been the best actor, like acting performance step up from 1 to 2, I think.
Yeah, he's been fucking awesome. I love how much they're making. There's like direct connections too. Obviously, we started the episode with like the Luz Theron, and then now we're here towards the end, and he's like, it's the same as your last life. You try to be so honorable, so proud, so perfect, and then he even says the end, like she's right about you. Like you're so much like Luz, but different, and it's like I just love anytime they make that like direct connection between the two of them. It's just really cool.
Yet Rand is just like, I hate hearing this.
Yeah,
I hate when
yeah,
you're calling me
of
Luz,
course.
but I'm just like, give me more of that.
Yeah, just completely eating it up. It's so like deviously good, like deliciously evil, where he's like, you abandoned Egwene and turned her into a killer. And I was like, what an interpretation of those events. Like, Jesus. I mean, no, what this guy was destined to be a fucking on the dark side, because how the hell are you making that guy? Like, that's like a wild interpretation of that, which is just
Father
funny.
lies, baby.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's just a master manipulator. But all right. After these conversations are going on and we're getting deep and philosophical about our lives, and then Matt arrives on the scene and promptly just whips that dagger staff right at his
My
chamois.
old college javelin, Paul. My old college javelin.
Just literally rips it right through his chamois and straight into Rand's spleen. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. Matt shows up in the background, and my heart sunk because I just knew this guy was gonna fuck it up. I didn't want him to fuck it up. Obviously, I really like Matt. I just knew he was gonna fuck it up. He's holding the spear. He confidently throws it up to himself. He's like, I got this, and just pierces fucking Rand. I'm like, this guy. This
it just like goes right through and then thunk. And I was like, oh my God.
The old college javelin, Paul. That's literally all I was thinking.
Be honest,
Paul.
You thought Rand was dead, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, the thought crossed my mind. I was like, are they just gonna time skip like 3,000 years to the next dragon?
Oh my God.
Like,
could you fucking imagine?
Yeah, and like is she still around? All the land, like honestly, I'm not gonna lie.
The boldest thing ever for a TV show to do would be that.
Well, yeah, I didn't know there's more.
It's possible. I mean, I like that your head was there because Ishii had been, I feel like, consistently throughout the episode, kind of saying, like, referencing, like, oh, we might have to wait till the next life, or So if that had happened, that would have been wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's
here I come though with the fucking semantics again. Would Rand be able to see the weaves of the illusion for Ishii?
I would say yes, technically, but also he's shielded. Emotional moment.
Shielded. He's shielded.
And Land does say, earlier in episode 7, or not even earlier in episode 7, but at the end when he's like, concentrate. Like it feels like it takes like a lot of effort for Rand to be able to like notice those shielded weaves. So like that's.
I honestly
coming from.
Thought about it like Hunter x Hunter, like you can see other people's Nen. I was gonna say Tao, but I was like, I knew that's not right. You can see other people's Nen, but only if you like know the ability to. So I had that in the back of my mind. Wasn't exactly sure because they didn't really give us the whole answer, especially Logain. Logain's just fucking throwing me off with his quote unquote talent of seeing weaves and stuff like that.
Also, I mean, Samuel's kind of line right after that is such a simple illusion. How could you not see it? I mean, I took it as him saying it to Matt, but I mean, maybe he said it to Rand.
I now that you're saying that, definitely think he was saying it to Rand.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely took it as him talking to Matt about that.
Yeah. My line after that is just, he's such a dick. Like Rand's just got this 8-foot pole sticking out of him and he's talking
But
shit.
it's,
Right, but
but
now-
it's incredible because this was like a huge plan. Like Ishii,
Yeah.
even though he doesn't work out for him this season, like the
I think
planning
it
is
does.
still there. Like it's still like he's still like a master manipulator, the father of lies. We keep saying it. So I'm happy that Min's vision played in, like, because he put everything into motion with Min as well, which kind of led into Min telling Matt, which led into this moment. So like all of that was really like a push a rock down like a hill, and it kind of just spirals, and like a lot of this was sort of in his vision of the plan of how it was going to go.
Yeah. I mean, he even says to Pat and Fane, like, I know not even how he's gonna, maybe it's how he's gonna die and like who's gonna do it type of deal. So like he saw this coming for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad that Matt like is doing his best and like it still all goes according to the Shadows plan. Basically, it's like, damn, my boy can't even win when he wins.
Do we want to bring up this dagger again? Because my only comment is going to be like the fact that there was obviously a whole ordeal in season 1 to have Matt, who was, I guess, like
Matt was holding it, not
I guess he
stabbed by
didn't
it,
get
yeah.
stabbed. You're right. He was holding it because
This
in
is-
my head I'm thinking like, why is Rand able to only get healed from it, whereas Matt had to get this like darkness extracted from him? Moraine almost like swallows it. But I guess that's one overline difference is that Rand got stabbed.
And
but then
theorize
again,
all you want, but this is a huge thing.
yeah, again, we've already talked enough about the dagger and how shitty it is, so I don't know how much we want to get into it. But I was just these are just thoughts that I were having in the moment. Is like, why is it a one shot on everyone else, not Rand? Why are they not extracting the darkness? Yada yada yada. Just
So
saying.
I guess
Don't-
like before we get maybe even to like the fact that it's healed, like, so we get it going. I mean, fuck it, we can talk about it. All right, it's just I think it's a point that like you notice the wound and it's like all like black.
black. Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah,
it was
like,
that was
that's
something
on
I had
purpose.
noticed.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
Yeah.
going to be a thing.
leave it at that. That's all I need to hear.
Yeah, that's cool.
So-
I like that. Easily accepting.
Because I did notice it was black, and I just I didn't.
It does not look good.
Yeah. Okay. Easy.
Yeah, I just getting into Elaine, going into helium, like everybody popping up, and I guess we can talk about again
We can talk about it
Egwene.
all. Fuck it,
Oh,
there's no
dude,
rules.
gas me the fuck up with Egwene, dude. She's
Yeah.
great
She
right
looks
here.
So
You can,
hot.
yeah,
You look
can't,
so hot here.
you can't face down one of the chosen child, and she does exactly that.
Mhm.
I didn't understand it. I didn't comprehend it. I was like, no way you're actually making a Forsaken like try hard. Like this is just insane. Like I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know what concussion you just got by being chucked against the wall, but why are you on steroids right now? Because I've never seen her do the shield, I don't think before. But I mean it was just
she does, I believe, do it when they're about to get captured
Yes.
initially. And
Okay.
She
Her,
puts up a
Elaine,
shield.
yeah.
Yeah.
gotcha.
But could
I
you
mean, it was
imagine
just-
how much better Nynaeve would have been?
That's all I
Yeah.
could think about. That's
Yeah.
literally all I could think about is if
Kidding.
Nynaeve is like 20 times or whatever they fucking said, Nynaeve or Egwene.
Nah, Team Egwene.
I don't get it. So Egwene casting with no hands and channeling with no hands, just so cool.
Well,
Looking.
she's just built different. I mean, they've also been
Mhm.
kind of giving us the line, but almost both ways. Where, like you're saying, Nynaeve's obviously stronger, and they keep reinforcing that. But also, Egwene's a friggin' beast. She's one of one of the strongest people they've seen in thousands of years. So
and then
I also like how it's like not easy as well. Like she is getting worn down over time,
Oh yeah.
which I thought was good that it wasn't just like super easy for her. Because I feel like that would have felt almost like too
Yeah,
soon.
She literally turns to him and says, like, I'm sorry, like I'm not strong enough.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then that's when
yeah,
It's
which
such a chills
explained
moment, dude. I love that parent showing up. Just, oof.
it was cool. Then again, what's with the shield? I don't get
Yeah.
it. Like
Well, also at the shield originally, I was like, come on, like that shield can't break the power. But also, I mean, if you want to take the line of it's a shield of the hero of the horn, and it's fucking mythical, like spiritual, special shield, then I am willing to swallow that for sure.
Yeah.
All
If
right,
I say
cool.
Paul, it disappears when everybody else does. Are you happy?
No.
You could even probably go back and maybe see if it's
Yeah,
like there on the ground.
Why? That makes it
When they-
better because then that follows through with when the heroes show up. They all have weapons. Like you saw the
I
girl with
figured-
the bow. You saw the guys with the swords.
But I
Like,
feel like it's a gift that would just not. It shouldn't disappear. I don't know why I'm thinking it like that. Again, I'm
That
just
sounds
thinking
like
of The
Greek
Witcher. Like
mythology,
I'm just
Dave.
thinking of The Witcher. Like their armor piece fell off, and like they didn't take it back with them, so it's left in the real
So
world.
can they just conjure another shield and then drop it and then conjure
And
another
now
shield?
we're
and then
over
drop it?
dissecting it. I'm gonna say no, but
Over
I have no
dissecting it,
idea.
there's
They're
no
just a
such
shield
thing.
factory.
Yeah,
You
why-
get called,
yeah.
and they're just like out here, just
No,
like
that's-
immediately just making like
no.
1,000.
Everybody
swords and
gets
1,000
shields.
spears.
Everybody gets shields that can block Ishii. Like they're fucking. Everybody
No.
grab one.
No,
Like
they
I
can't
don't
like,
get it.
that was like his shield, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, they can't
but
make them. Uno gave his one shield to
definitely-
Perrin.
definitely big Captain America vibes, and not only to go in with the shield of Captain America, like this was literally the Avengers Assemble moment, which I loved earlier, the Matt and Perrin reunion, but it just gets completely overshadowed by this reunion because this
Yeah.
was the reunion that just meant so much to all of us. Like finally we get our Emmons Field 5 back together again. Like the band is just here, we're jamming out, we're rocking and rolling. I was
Emmons Field
so
5
hyped.
plus
Plus
Elaine.
Elaine, who I am Emmons Field 6, baby. Let's just she might as well be from the
Yeah.
Two
She's the
Rivers.
daughter heir, bro. She ain't part
Yeah.
of Emmons Field.
They're
She
all
owns
Andorans,
Emmons
so-
Field.
She owns
She
Emmons
owns
Field.
Emmons Field.
Oh my god, the way Rand, when he was getting healed
Oh
by
my
Elaine,
God.
looks up and was like,
Yeah.
"Who are you?" Again,
the sun's behind her. It's like, are you an
This-
angel?
like, are you to fall in love with her? Like, that's literally what I thought. I think, like, is this a fucking like love beginning
He's
triangle?
just, yeah,
My
literally
comments-
hubba.
My comments on that, I definitely noticed that too, Paul, 100%. I have a note about it because it felt very out of place. But like as I'm like rewatching it and like we're kind of getting to the aftermath of everything, I'm jumping the gun here. But I'll say that at the very end here, like when Rand is proclaimed as the dragon and he's overlooking like all the city of Falm, there is a shot of Egwene looking at him standing off on the edge, and she kind of seems like annoyed to me. Like she's not happy. And I
This is
feel like
Egwene, not Elaine.
Egwene,
Right?
sorry, Egwene is overlooking and
Just checking.
has an annoyed kind of look on her face. And I feel like the combination of like all the events that just happened with her being a Damane and then the whole thing about Rand lying to her, I'm not shipping this by any means, but like I feel like there is now potentially a rift that could happen between Egwene and Rand. Maybe there's room for an Elaine love arc here. But I do genuinely believe that Rand and Egwene will be the
Calling
ones
the
ending
shot.
up
Okay.
together at the end of the show. I just think for maybe the time being, there's going to be a rift because of the events that just happened to Egwene, because
There's- I
Rand
mean-
just lied to him.
They're supposedly best friends though, Egwene and Elaine.
Yeah, and that would throw
That
a
could get
rift in there.
interesting.
Yeah, that would. There we go. Boom. I'm writing the show
Hold
itself,
on, let's
baby.
work up to that because
But yeah.
a couple.
Yeah,
I mean,
I cut. I,
this should be the thing that you wanted to talk about because Ishii, after
Oh,
Rand
yeah,
gets
yeah.
healed and the sword comes out, the Dragon Reborn fucking shows up and starts whipping out his magic, which is fucking awesome, and then just pulls out his Heron Mark sword and shoves it through his heart, and it's just
The
that's
slow
just like
pull up.
holy, that's like a series finale moment right there. That's happening in book 2 of 14. Like what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Oh,
is
dude. I
happening?
mean, like the season 1 finale, technically, when he kills him there. It's like, how the fuck is there more story?
And then he gets Thanos snapped away as he just fucking
Yeah.
fades to
Yeah.
dust.
I liked how they kind of make it like obviously like Egwene has like a big moment here and like Perrin's involved and stuff, but I like how it still ends up being kind of Rand's moment where like even Matt is like Rand, like you have to do something. And when he's like, I can't because I'm shielded, but then the shield drops and he kind of like steps through everyone because like Rand's the guy type of deal. That's why people
feels-
were upset kind of about the season 1 finale where like they completely stole his like amazing moment away. And again, it's not exactly like it's supposed to be really all him again, but I don't hate the idea that they're like involving all these other characters because they're still our main characters.
This was
too,
the
type of
correct
deal.
ratio compared
Yeah.
to season 1 of how much Rand
Yeah.
does.
I
Yeah.
could use a little more.
It
I could have
felt-
used a little bit more. Too.
It literally
Use
felt
a
like
little
One
more.
Piece, where like the crew and everybody are just waiting for Luffy to
Yeah.
like regain his strength and then go
Mhm.
hop in. That's what it felt like. And
That's good.
so when he does finally pull Rand channels and has like, it was almost like how Swan had the air knives around her. He kind of has like this weird fire around him.
Yeah. It was like
and-
enveloped all around him. That was really cool.
Yeah, and then it just meets Ishii's the channeling like head on. And the slow motion drag with the blade up, I loved it. Except Ishii's jacket didn't have a big gash in it when he was laying on the ground. It was just one little poke hole, and I was a little pissed about that continuity. And then,
Small details, baby.
dude, small details piss me. That's why it's A tier, Dave, not S tier, because that's why it's A tier. But my only other question was Rand imbuing the blade with some type of channeling? Otherwise, why did that same exact blade not kill Lanfear?
That is how I took it. In
Me
the
too.
books, it's much more obvious.
Okay.
In the books, it's literally the two of them are like in the air fighting with like fire and a bunch of shit, and like it is more obvious that Rand is using kind of the power along with like this weapon and things like that.
He gets the heron mark burned into his
Yes.
palm, which
Yeah,
was really cool. And that's why, because at one point he's grabbing the blade and pushing it up. I'm like, well, fuck, you grabbing the blade, and then he grabs, or it shows the actual burn mark in his palm, and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
never mind, that's fucking cool. So
Yeah, because obviously it was so heated up, it literally just melts inside of a chamois, basically.
that's how I took it, and that's why it just disintegrated, because there was so much going through, like, it was, the sword was the conduit of all the energy going from Rand into Ishii.
And before we'll let Dave
Yeah, I'm waiting
say
for
some words.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
I just want to say that we can't also step away from like the unique, I won't say subversion, because like this is in line with his character of him saying as Ishii's dying, he says like, do you see that? Like, it's beautiful. And then he goes, what do you mean? And he's like, I see nothing. And he just kind of like happily fades away, which was a huge part of his character. So, but anyway, Dave, what do we think?
All right, my boy Ishmael, rest in peace, my boy. I have to admit, when I first watched it happen, the blade pierced his heart. I felt a little cheated. I felt like I might be completely biased, because everyone knows, I am like, it feels like the world's diehard like Ishii fan number
The
one.
foremost expert.
Yeah, so it felt a little anticlimactic. I'm gonna be honest. That he was able to go down just from that one piercing. The end scene, which we'll get into, makes me feel a lot better about his death in this moment. But I guess for me, the expectations were, this was the guy. This was going to be someone who was going to make it the distance. He was going to be one of the final battles in the end seasons. So I guess it was more so my expectations that made this scene feel a little more anticlimactic than it should have been.
I agree.
Again, the end scene helps me feel a little bit better about it, but it did feel a little anticlimactic. At the end of the day, I still think this scene was good. I love Ishii. If you guys didn't know that already,
Yeah.
I'm going to miss him so much. I don't know how it would be possible. I hope there's a way to kind of incorporate him back into the show. Like, the actor himself was just incredible. I just feel like if even in season 3, 4, 5, whatever, like we get a flashback, just including him, like I would just absolutely love that as a diehard Ishii fan. But yeah, it felt a little anticlimactic, and I'll explain why it didn't at the end here with the end credit scene.
I will
Maybe
say
a little Age of Legends flashback.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're 2 for 2 technically, but I think for me, part of it, obviously, he's kind of like beating Egwene's shield down, and everyone feels kind of powerless against him. But it also felt like quite easy.
Yeah, it did, because
Yeah.
I mean,
And I
we do
think they
get a good
also kind
display
of-
of his power. I think him using the power and seeing the fireballs around him and like shooting into the shield was really badass. But yeah, you're right, Kyle.
And also, I think they did not necessarily, like, they kind of created their own controversy almost with Paul's point about Moraine uses the sword and stabs Lanford through the heart, and like nothing happens. Well, not necessarily nothing happens, but like obviously this doesn't happen, type of deal. So I don't know. I think it
The
kind
only
is
devil's
what it is
advocate
almost.
like point I'll make is that he seemed so in the mindset that like Rand, the Dragon Reborn, is like so early in his development. Like he kind of underestimated them, and they all just kind of glowed up super quickly, specifically Egwene and Rand. Like in this moment, this was like a character development moment for them. So maybe he wasn't really ready for it. But I agree. Like Lanfear has kind of been made out to be stronger
Yeah,
from what we've seen. And
I
that's
agree.
not the case, because this is supposed to be the Dark
Yeah.
One's left.
And he like
The only time
the way it happens in the books is like it's kind of tough because they've kind of been. I think they're trying to combine a little bit books 2 and 3 because they have very similar story arcs.
Mhm.
And the way he like goes away in the books is like finito, like insane, like damn type of deal. Like it almost is like a conqueror's hockey moment where like the sky splits and like the storm clouds go away, like all that kind of stuff happens. So I think for me too, I think I agree with like my expectations coming in are what are kind of fighting against me really, really and potentially enjoying this to the fullest.
I will say though, this was huge moment, and just to jump forward just a little bit,
Mhm.
Moraine,
Oh yeah, we
she
can.
sees all of this going down. She can just tell somehow for some reason that Rand is up there, and she has the line. I kind of already talked about it earlier, like the dragon will announce itself with fire going through the sky. I don't know the actual quote, but then she busts out that fucking weave. And I was like, where have you been hiding that fucking thing? That was awesome. I got chills at that moment, like legitimately. And Rand walking to the edge of the tower and everybody chanting. And, it felt like, all right, this is it. This is the announcement. We kind of talked about it. We theorized whether or not he would announce himself to the world, but this was pretty badass. And Rain being there to channel that fucking fire dragon and it just roaring down in front of everybody. I'm like, goddamn right, it's the Dragon Reborn. That was badass.
Dude,
What did you
talk
think of
like
that?
that's the CGI budget right there for half the season went towards that.
Yeah, that's why they couldn't fight in the air, is because the dragon had to roar a few times. What
What
did I
did you
think
think
of
of
that?
that, Luke?
I mean, I have issues with it, but it's still awesome.
Yeah, it almost makes me feel bad to like not enjoy it in the fullest.
Oh, I split my attention right down the middle. I said this is fucking the best thing ever, and then it's literally a point in the books that we're in a fantasy world right now, but dragons don't exist. Like you shouldn't really necessarily know what a dragon is to do something like that. But also,
Okay.
also the worst part about it is it's just like a forced prophecy thing rather than it just being a natural prophecy thing. And that's top two biggest complaints. Like, but I put that aside because of how badass the
It
fucking
looked really
CGI
cool.
dragon
Yeah,
was.
like the roar when it like actually like goes in the tower and like
Yes.
roars above all of them was
I
like an insane. I literally never imagined that shot in my life.
I do hate the forced prophecy thing. Like it's like they're like, oh wait, we gotta, and that honestly even goes back to Lanfear's line that's bad in hindsight, saying like, wait to call the banner or whatever. Like all of that seems like the prophecies are supposed to happen regardless of what people do, not
Yeah.
oh if Moraine like it's your moment, do it. It's supposed to just have happened.
That's
Like
why I was talking about when she destroyed the ships. I thought that was the moment, and she didn't even realize it
Mm.
until afterwards. That's why I was like, "Oh, she announced it," but didn't even
symbolism
know.
wise, that would have been better. But
Yeah,
but also we wouldn't have gotten the cool ass dragon.
I mean, they could have incorporated to the fact that like, what is Goku's finishing move? That is like the dragon punch, basically.
Oh my god!
Like they could have
That's a
easily
deep
made it.
cut.
Well, I know, but I'm just thinking like Rand's sword could have like had the swing of like a fire dragon that like cuts through Ishii kind of thing. Like that, maybe I'm thinking of this from like an anime perspective,
Yeah, it
which
would have
might
been
be a
cool
little
if you
ridiculous.
if you like put it through him and then shot fires
Like
through the sword in the
yeah,
moon
or like
and
a
like what
dragon
came
comes
out.
out of his
Yeah,
like
back
what
and
came
then like
out
everyone
kind of
sees
looked
it.
like it. That would have
I'm-
been sick.
I mean,
I'm with you.
I'm sure you're on the same page about the forced prophecy thing, right, Kyle? Like that was
Yeah.
like a complaint.
Yeah, I don't know why they
Yeah,
had to do
and
that.
it's also kind of tough because again, you can kind of write whatever words you want on the paper of like describing how it looks and like how are they going to make it look in the story of the TV show. But yeah, it kind of popped out, and I like wanted so hard to just like break my own brain and just like enjoy it like pure like ignorance of anything that happens in the story type of deal.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it was kind of like.
Because it felt like they were just like they had been saying the dragon will proclaim himself there. It's not Moraine will proclaim
Yeah.
the dragon there, like
But still,
Yeah.
either way,
Either way, it
all the
looked
other
great.
things that happen, and I'll just list them real quick, and we can just talk about whatever we want. But like, so the Emmonsfield Five plus Elaine just proclaim themselves like in front of all of Falm. Everybody's cheering.
Yeah,
You
that's also an
see-
interesting point. Is that they're all up there and everyone
Dude,
can see all of them.
this is what I want to talk
Exactly,
about
and
because
yeah,
and then I feel like just before you keep going, just the fact that that Matt even blew the horn to me, I feel like is like even a symbol in itself. Like I just felt like the horn was always meant for the dragon and Rand, and yet Matt's out here blowing it. So it's just interesting that
That's
they
a
do that.
conversation. Yeah.
Like because we had in season 1 been talking like, oh, like the cheesy route would be like all 5 of them the dragon. I know you guys have harped on us just to inform us like Rand is the dragon, like that's it. But like it goes so much deeper than just that because they were all 5 plus 1 were up there, and they're doing things.
Plus 1.
I like how that almost makes Elaine more special, and that she's +1 versus like 5.
It's definitely a +1 like plus. Yeah.
The quick glances we get to see though that I think are worth pointing out is we see Avienda and the Aiel proclaim Karo Khan, which was like a moment.
Sweet.
Yeah, did you have? I feel like I tiptoed around the question, and I'm not sure if you guys knew what I was asking when we talked about that scene initially. Of I thought maybe you guys would think of like who the Karo Khan was.
Yeah,
No.
like because she was saying like the Aiel people were looking for the Karo Khan, the chief of chiefs, and like we didn't really have a conversation about it because
Yeah.
we could.
I said Perrin was gonna be.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
actually so true. You did say that.
But let me rattle off these
Swing and
other
a
4
miss,
points.
Paul.
The heroes of the horn disappear. That's just was naturally going to happen. I'm happy that wasn't like anything that turned me off there. You see you see Massima like looking up, like he's happy. You see Landfear, she's just incredibly happy and satisfied with how this whole plan went. And that's pretty much it. Like we get, and then it just ends on before we go to the epilogue, the really cool shot of and pan out of the 5+1 on the tower, and it was just really fucking cool. Besides,
Do we know where the horn went? With the one here, the horn kind of grabbed it and put it behind her back, but that was kind of it.
Yeah,
No.
it kind of seemed to
Not yet.
disappear, which there are interesting implications behind that as too. That'll probably that's Luke, Jimmy, and I'm sure we'll talk about that
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Me and
But,
Dave will go fuck ourselves.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting thing they did. It looked cool. Looked like that was not the first time she's done that with the horn.
No, that was honestly a magic trick. It was sweet.
But yeah, they did a good job here of focusing on the right people, I guess is what I'll say,
Yeah.
which was cool.
All
right, I'm gonna go back and rewatch
I know
it.
exactly what you're talking about too.
Yeah. Well played, team.
Agreed.
Well played.
Dave, we're going back and dissecting.
So, is that all we have before we get to this epilogue? scene?
Yes, do it. Let's
Dude,
get to it.
I
Okay.
miss Ishii. I miss
So,
Epilogue was so good.
so after Lanfear gets to see her boy proclaimed as the dragon, she's trying to ride that high, retrieve her spoils of war, but she finds her spoils have been spoiled already by a Shamael, and there is someone sitting in his chair.
Mogadine, baby. Yeah, this was what an introduction, man. The way she's like playing with her weaves is just kind of like was reminiscent like of a spider web almost. Like I just it was so cool seeing her, and then softly from the shadows. That's gonna be my
Yeah.
new catchphrase.
Are you transferring all your fandom shares into her, or is it too soon?
No, she hasn't.
You're a free agent still.
I'm a free agent right now. We need to balance this back out. But this was a great introduction to Mogadir because I just feel like Mogadine. I keep saying Mogadir
Mogadir.
because I have it written as Mogadir for whatever fucking reason. But just great introduction. I am so curious on just what her powers are and like who would win a fight, her versus Lanfear, because it did seem like Lanfear was kind of like thrown off a little bit by how strong she was, but at the same time, Lanfear fires back and is like, I'd win. And she's like, you maybe wouldn't win. So it's really cool because again, Lanfear I felt like was shaking in her boots right here, and we haven't really seen that at all.
Yeah.
Like Ishii kind of intimidated her a little bit earlier in the season, but it wasn't to like this extent. So
She was breathing heavy. She was sweating. I honestly got scared for her. The line how she's talking to Lanfear saying like, oh, we all the other ones thought that you and Ishii and the dragon were too close, like, and now we kind of have the proof about it, and just it was actually terrifying.
I'll be honest, that's the line that kind of saved Ishii's death for me a little bit, because while he had been painted in my mind as this like unkillable god almost, we had been recurrently being reminded that, he was a friend of Lou's. We got the intro scene of him and how his reaction was when he like last saw Lou's when he was getting sealed away. Like all of these things come together here, and it just emphasizes that was his weakness. Like the dragon, as ironic as it is, was always Ishii's weakness and Lanfear's weakness. And so for him to die by the dragon, because he maybe had these conflicting feelings of like, yes, he wants the wheel to break, but at the same time, like he maybe also knows that Luz is also the person that's capable of killing him and like putting him out of his misery. Like these lines here make me feel better about Ishii's death, because it paints him more as like, okay, he did actually have a huge weakness and it was exploited, and that's why he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I'll say here.
So Stealer Scenes was initially Ishii's. I said personally, Lanfear got Stealer Scenes. I think she just passed that on to the next Forsaken. I think every time they're on, everybody shut up. This is like big info jump.
How good are the fucking Forsaken? We are 3 for 3, and this is like, if I could have had one wish before the show started, I would have said make the Forsaken as great as they were in my head. And like, I honestly want to say Moghedien, whatever you want to say, is already better in the show than the book off of this one fucking scene, because it was so fucking cool. The lighting was dark. Her weaves were amazing. She says a couple of cool lines here. She goes, "This is a warning." She's like, "When I strike, I don't miss." And she's like, "This is your only warning. Don't fucking come near the dragon anymore. That the dragon belongs to the rest of us," talking about the rest of the Forsaken. And then when she pieces out, eventually, Lanfear has another great line. She goes, "Light help you, Randall Thor," because she's just awesome. Like, Jesus Christ, man. This whole epilogue was a top 5 scene of the show for me. I'm just gassed up anytime a Forsaken is on the screen. And the fact that we're already 3 for 3, the tone is correct, the tension is there. I think the Forsaken are just going to carry the show. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, like Dave was talking about that. I'm not even going to say her name. The new Forsaken seemed like spider webs, and from the shadows and whatnot we were talking about, so maybe like some little spider aspect to it. But also when she left, light came back into the room. Like they had like a dark filter on or whatever, and as soon as she left, it like popped back up. So
how about the way she left too?
It just sneaks out, and just like
she's like backed up almost into that
apparates.
fucking that was so cool.
It looked like a Warren, Paul, didn't it? She like kind of
just kind of
it honestly looked like the way that like Thanos teleports around.
That's literally what I was gonna say.
Yeah, like the portals that he opens, it looked like that.
Expectations for season 3 are just way higher than expectations for season 2 now.
Well, that's exactly what you want out of a season 2 then.
The only other thing that I kind of picked up on here was that it felt like Lanfear was maybe like the tutor of Moghedien, because it was some weird comment. I guess
say like, "This is what you always told me," or like said about me. And
like,
yes,
Moghedien was saying to Lanfear that like, you always thought I was weak. And so I'm just thinking like maybe there's like a mother-daughter aspect here.
She said basically that Lanfear like gave her that like softly from the shadows. Thing. So like that was kind of her view of her.
I'm interested to see if they dive into that relationship at all, because it does feel like, again, like maybe there's a mother-daughter tutelage kind of thing going on here. Couldn't think of the word.
Could be. Yeah, just I have nothing else to say. It's just fantastic. This is arguably one of the best scenes
show
in the whole show. It was just fucking awesome. I mean, what a way to end this season.
Mm-hmm.
I really almost can't think of a better way for them to have ended it. So
let's rip the MVP, LVP, and then we're gonna do for the last time our top 3 favorite characters exiting season 2.
I can't do top favorite characters.
All right, who wants to go first?
For which one are we gonna do? Do
you want to do them all at once, or do you want to do MVP, LVP, and then?
I think we should do all 3 at once.
All 3 at once. Fine. All right, give me it. I'll try and bang this out. Holy shit. MVP. Like I said earlier, I could have given this to like 90% of the characters in this episode, I feel like, but I'll just give it to one that I've never given it to before. We're gonna go with Lanfear. Yeah. Love. We just got to give the Forsaken in here. Obviously, could have easily been Ishii for no apparent reason. No, but Lanfear, without her, Rand never gets proclaimed. Well, probably gets proclaimed, but in the manner that it did. So she was a huge MVP here for our boys and girls. And then LVP easily, we'll just give it to Nynaeve.
Yep.
We'll just get it out of the way. She just
delete that one.
It's just not being able to heal Elaine in the moment. Like Paul said, it's like, if not now, when? Like, are you gonna need another child of yours to die? we'll see. We'll get there. I'm sure that'll be explored heavily in season 3. I feel like Nynaeve's glow up it's got to be due. Like if it wasn't season 1, it wasn't season 2. It's got to be coming soon because she has been an LVP for too long. Favorite characters to end the season.
I'll remind you of your post-episode 4 takes. This is mid-season. Your top 3 was Ishamael, Lan, and then Logain.
No way it's the same anymore.
No, it's not. Because so many characters obviously have gotten some great screen time and like a lot of screen time. So, is she number 1? That's not going to change for a little bit. I feel like, and then this is just like a clusterfuck of just names that it could literally be anyone. I'm trying not to let the biases of like this episode get to me. But I'll definitely solidify Rand in there. It's just so hard not to at this point. I feel like, now we're struggling. We're really struggling here. I'm just gonna throw out. I'm stuck between 2 characters. We'll give it.
Just Sam both.
All right, Egwene and Lan.
Okay.
The only reason I'm like, the only reason Lan is maybe dropping. I'm considering him dropping out of the top 3 is just because he just didn't have like those moments. Like it was a very generic storyline for him. Like you know, going to get Moraine and like it was very sentimental and everything he did was great. But it just wasn't like wow factor like Egwene had this season. So I will throw Egwene at 3. So it's Ishii, Rand, and Egwene.
And I want to remind you, Land's storyline and Moraine's is pretty boring. Book 2, so this is like it's not the writer's fault.
Yeah. No,
and honestly, in book 3. So
and book 3. Yeah.
All right, Paul, you can go next.
All right, MVP Rand. Just way too many badass moments of him just murking people and little effort, and I don't know. I'm just ready for more dragon, the chosen one prophecy fulfilled, power explosions. I mean, I'm ready for it. So he had a lot of growing in this episode alone and just showing power, I feel like. So I'm ready for him to blow up. LVP, I'll do Rena. Just way to
I think she's been an LVP in every episode. She's
good.
been.
Good. I'm happy with to send her off with
Well
that.
deserved.
She was up there on the top of the tower when all the dragon was proclaiming himself, and but she was just dead body up there. So, congrats, you were around, but you were so irrelevant. So, fuck Rena. And then all right,
I can remind you here. So your top 3 was Perrin, Egwene, and Lan. So you had the foresight that Dave didn't have, basically.
Yeah, bastard.
Kind of.
As
Except
always,
I'm
that's how it always is. Paul always has the foresight.
yeah,
Paul
except I'm
sees
like
potential.
going back now because like honestly, I have Rand as 1 because I just want to see what happens with him. I want to see if that was his next step between 7 and 8. I want to see his step between fucking episode 8 of season 2 and the beginning of season 3.
As Kelly's watching the finale right now, I just got a text all caps Egwene with like a million E's at the end of it.
Yeah.
She strikes me as an Egwene girl too.
I'm gonna go Egwene as 2
Okay.
because
Perfect
like
timing.
she's a badass, and what we saw, I can't wait to see what she does because I feel like she's just gonna get way stronger. And then 3, I'm honestly gonna say Moraine because this is like her with her powers back. It just feels good. It feels like Yen with her powers back. It just feels like everything is right with the world. Badass again. Insane flexes of power. I'm hype. I love Moraine and Lan back together. So
Do
it's
you
like
want a
Moraine
fourth?
/ Lan.
Okay,
yeah.
you go. So there you go. You can have
Yeah.
Lan as your 4th.
I'm
because
also taking a 4th, so it's good.
Yeah.
I had
go ahead.
Lan
You go
on
next,
there.
Luke.
So Moraine and Lan together.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one struggling with to cut it down to 3. So it sounds like we're just gonna do top.
Oh
4
yeah,
favorite
I
characters, yeah.
before you went, I had 4, so I was just gonna say 4.
All
All right, let's
perfect.
hear it then, Luke.
I'm gonna take the easy MVP here and give it to my boy Matt, dude. Cause hell, fucking yeah, I already gushed over the horn and the spear, like all
That's
of it.
funny.
was
I had him
just-
as an LVP.
Yeah, well, get the fuck out of here. You're fucking
He
wrong.
chucked a fucking
I didn't.
spear.
I mean, I didn't know you
That
could
was
be wrong,
Luke's.
but
Luke's prophecy was that he was going to be someone's MVP or LVP, and he was, I
Yeah.
guess, almost both.
So Matt was my MVP and LVP. I had nothing, so I just honestly I went with Pot on Fane because my expectations were probably a little too high, and I felt like he just kind of like bitched out and was just a plot mover for Matt. He was a catalyst for Matt's story rather than just being more of a presence that I wanted him to be. But I'll leave it. I still love Pod Unfeigned, so but he's my LVP for this episode. Now, favorite characters. Go ahead. What did I say? Because I'm curious if it changed.
Yeah, yours were Rand, Ishamael, Moraine.
Okay, so Rand, Lanfear, and then Moraine/Egwene. So
Boom.
basically, it stayed the same. I flipped out Forsaken, and I
Oh,
will
kill you.
never look back on that because Lanfear fucking was fighting for the first spot this season. Jesus, she was so good.
All right. So my MVP is going to be a lot of the good ones were taken naturally.
Don't you dare say Perrin.
My MVP is going to be Mogideon because I honestly think that she did more to get me excited for season 3 almost than anything else that happened in this episode. So that's MVP worthy numbers right there. LVP is easy. That is going to be Jeff from Bornhold, who fucking took Hopper away from us. I'm shocked that he made it down to me.
I
Essentially,
take it back.
I thought about it. He was my fourth option.
Yeah. And then so my characters were Shamiel, Elaine, and Perrin. So I'm gonna rework that, and I get 4. So I'm gonna say, and I want to say in no order. It's tough, but I'll say it's so hard not to be recency biased. But I'll say
know,
a
it's really
Shamael.
so
Yeah,
hard.
I'll say a Samael, Lanfear, Rand, and Elaine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just say your girl. Just say your girl.
Egwene is so tight there, and I feel like I was thinking like completely objectively and like the impact on the story and the character development, everything. But I feel like I needed a little
So
that the
personal
recency bias
one in there.
was
recency
Rand in all
bias.
4?
Yeah,
I love that. That's
he was just really good towards the end of the
he's just-
season, man.
He's just the guy. He's so
Recency
good.
bias definitely shot Egwene up so much for
Yeah.
me. Like these episodes were fucking fantastic for
Mhm.
her. Like it's just I love all these characters, to be honest. They're all just great.
Lanfear was such a blessing to this season. Mogideon is going to be so good in the future. Like this whole thing, like I feel like we're in good hands, and I know like both the finales have been the weaker parts of the
I
seasons,
know.
but
Just
like,
give me a fucking banger at end of season so I don't have to feel weird about it.
but if I'm being honest, like I didn't fall in love with the book series until a little bit after this too.
That's
Like
fair.
I liked it a lot especially after from book 2 to book 1, but like I really got into it at book 3, book 4. So it doesn't surprise me that we're feeling like this. I just hope that next time there's going to be nothing weird with the Mad Actor. There's going to be nothing COVID related. I think like next season is going to be full steam ahead, and it should be what really like puts this show into like mainstream conversations. Because again, I said everybody I know that hasn't read the books that has watched this show loves it. So that's just such a good sign for the average viewer that I'm just fucking hoping that we're here in 2 years talking about how good season 3 is.
Yeah, 2 years. Jeez.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
I
Maybe
guess
a little
that's it.
less because then it got greenlit pretty quick and they started filming, I think, right?
I know
is that
season
true?
3
I mean,
was already
it's tough
green.
because they were filming season 2 when season 1 was coming out.
That's true.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I guess we'll stay positive. Does anyone else have a parting thought before I completely send us off for our Wheel of Time coverage for the foreseeable
Give me
future?
season 3. That's it.
Yeah, give me season 3. Rest in peace to my homeboy Ishii. He's definitely got peace now. He's got peace and quiet to think on for the rest of his time. And then Rip Hopper. Love that
Yeah.
guy. That's our dog.
Hopefully we see Elias again
Yeah.
soon.
And rip the non-dark friend Ingtar.
Hmm.
This version of Ingtar. Shout out to him, I guess.
Rip
Oh.
Ishii, the mover of plots.
Okay, so that's gonna do it for our season 2 coverage. I guess episodic coverage of Amazon Prime's The Wheel of Time. I had a blast doing it over this, what was it, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, who can say at this point. Every time we drop an episode, I get so giddy. Every time I watch an episode, I get giddy to talk about it. Then we do the podcast. After we record the podcast, I'm like, oh, that's the best podcast we ever recorded. And then we like drop the podcast and we get like the responses and the interaction. And it's just like, it's been so fun. It's been like honestly one of my favorite things we've done on the podcast. So just thank you everyone who's been listening, supporting, reaching out. and kind of just even giving us
wheel, baby.
feedback, compliment the wheel. He puts up a wheelchair. Well, I was sitting there like, okay, and then just the wheel, baby. So yeah, that's all I got. We're going to be covering other shows. Bingetown is not just a Wheel of Time podcast. Gen V just came out on Amazon Prime. That's probably going to take over probably top spot for us in our focus. We're covering Jujutsu Kaisen, which is an anime. We're big anime fans, if you couldn't tell from all the One Piece references we've been dropping. The Fall of House of Usher. Huge Mike Flanagan fans here, right in time for quote unquote, AKA hashtag spooky season. So if you're into all of those things, stick with us. If you're not, stick around. Something will happen. We'll cover something that you like. I know Percy Jackson's coming down the pike in December, which I'm personally very, very excited for. And more things to come, of course.
Our Wheel Time book coverage or book reactions coming soon too.
Yeah, this won't be the last you hear or see from us on this feed. And yeah, just as always, and again, thanks for listening. We are Bingetown TV, and we love you guys.
Wheel in the sky keeps on turning.